This is the Rich Eisen Show.
He's a beast that wants to feast.
Oh, my God.
Live from the Rich Eisen Show studio in Los Angeles.
First of all, I say to you, Cowboy fans, you in particular are not getting Jamal Adams.
Heard nationwide, televised online at richeisenshow.com. Today's guest, the athletic MLB writer Evan Drellich, NFL Network insider Ian Rapoport, co-host of Good Morning Football, Kyle Brandt, Bleacher Report senior NBA writer Howard Beck. And now, it's Rich Eisen.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to this edition of the Rich Eisen Show. I am your humble host. It's good to be here with all the 454s in the YouTube stream. We say hello to you. Sirius XM Channel 211 after the Dan Patrick Show. I am, as all of you can see, still the best dad ever. That hasn't changed in the last 2 days.
But you're a year older.
I am a year older. Good to see you, Chris and Mike. Good to see you. You could say you don't look a day over 51 because that's exactly what I am.
Welcome to the 50 Club. 50.
Well, I mean,
Mike. Once you go above 50, it's a different club.
Yeah, you sent me a text yesterday. Welcome to the 50 Club, and then I looked at it. You said over 50
over
Club,
50 club. I meant,
which I guess I was over 50 the first minute I turned 50.
51.
Well, I wish you, happy Wilford Brimley and Cocoon.
Yeah, that is, by the way.
That was great.
Well, that was great, and I appreciate that. I saw that, I think, on an Instagram post.
That was classic.
He was 51 in Cocoon.
He was 51 in Cocoon.
Imagine, you know what, and I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky to be sitting here on this show at this mug, this set, with two guys who I consider great friends that I talk to every day in front of everybody here. Oh, my gosh, I could tell you about just how lucky I am and fortunate every single day. I'm I don't think I'm a male model. I don't, I know I posted a selfie yesterday that made me feel that way a little bit, but last year I posted a selfie on my 50th. I figured every year of my 50s I'll post a selfie.
Sure.
And, knock on wood, by the end of this decade, I'll see how I've aged, But I don't consider myself a male model. In any way, shape, or form. Even though I'm dressed in an all-black shirt today, this is not indicative of anything. The surgical procedure, the medical procedure I had on Tuesday has nothing to do with wearing a black shirt today.
Okay.
Everything's fine.
Making sure.
Yeah, so I took off for that on Tuesday, and on Wednesday was my birthday, and now I'm back, and we're on NBCSN tomorrow. So, long story short, I can't believe that somebody at age 51 could successfully be cast and play a geriatric individual. Somebody, like if I was, Wilford Brimley, and they're like, you're hired to play a senior citizen, and you're 51, and the other people that are in the film as senior citizens are actually senior citizens, from Hume Cronin to Jessica Tandy, who was a husband and wife team, to Jack Gilford, for crying out loud, to Don Amici, right? Did I get them all?
You pretty much got him. Well, Steve Gutenberg,
No, but he's not. But he wasn't playing one. And who was the Jessica Tandy? And Hume Cronin, by the way, they were the husband and wife team.
All right, so that movie came out in 1985.
The fact that they're all hired as senior citizens, and Wilford, you're 51, you're hired as a senior citizen, and
Jessica Tandy was 74.
Come on. Come on.
Hugh Cronin's probably up there too.
Of course, they were husband and wife.
Hugh Cronin was born in 1911, so he would have been 70. Right, he would have been 74. Jessica Tandy 76.
Yeah.
And then Wilford Brimley, he was not really 51.
Wilford Brimley, born in 1934, still alive. 1985. Do the math. That's 51.
Holy crap. Now,
Brian Dennehy was in that movie?
Yes. He was.
The head of the aliens.
No, you can't cast me as a senior citizen, right? Like, I could not.
No.
Right now?
Without.
No, definitely. You would have to have lots of prosthetics.
Makeup.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
Rich, both of us look pretty good for our
Don
age.
Amici was born in 1908.
Oh, my God. Turn the machines back on.
So he would have been 77?
And he was 51?
Well, Don Amici was an actor.
That's got to be Like, they had to mess with his birth certificate, right?
Jack Guilford.
He's like the Danny Almonte.
Jack Guilford, also born in 1908. Let's see.
So it's funny. Welcome. Funny. Happy Wilford Brimley birthday. Look, and hey, I'll always shoot you straight here. We know COVID-19's on the rise. We feel it. We're genuinely concerned about what's going on. And the country, we're all wondering if it's the world spinning off its axis, and we're always looking for something to take our minds off of things, and we're always looking for a laugh, right? We are here on the show,
always,
and we're always looking for a pleasant surprise.
Nice.
You know where I'm going on this one.
I do.
Who knew the hero that we needed? Who knew the hero that we needed was Jay Cutler, and that the platform would be Instagram stories, right?
Instagram stories, yeah.
Who knew? I don't think anybody knew.
Nah.
I don't think anybody saw this coming. Somebody who was married to, one would say, a reality television star.
No doubt about it.
And had a reality television camera crew in his house, and reacted to this camera crew as, one would say, what would be the football equivalent of Mike Mayock with Hard Knocks, right?
Pretty much.
Just, I want none of this. I'm a curmudgeon. I want no part of this. Why are we doing this?
It was open disdain.
Open disdain.
And then when the camera was on him, just like his sheer indifference, but then you realize that's who he is, and it was hilarious.
By the way, one of my favorite concerts was when Open Disdain opened up for sheer indifference. That was an incredible
Not bad.
concert.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Open Disdain. Who could have thought, like, Jay Cutler making that old heel turn?
Oh yeah.
To Instagram stories.
Love it.
Then just showing up and just talking about chickens.
Yeah, well,
this is what we needed.
This is what we needed
as
to
a
distract
nation
us yesterday.
Divided. Maybe it was his birthday gift to me, right?
Perhaps.
Okay, very good. Mike, are you paying attention enough to actually focus on what we're doing? Great.
Of course I am.
Says the man who closed his
I
microphone.
did that because you
done.
yelled at me about the typing. I was typing something. I didn't want you to...
What are you typing? Exactly.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jay Cutler for Nation Divided, turning its lonely eyes to cut. Roll it.
Okay, here's the deal. First story. It's a big one. We've got a chicken serial killer on the loose. We've lost quite a few. Tonight we're going to set up a trail camera, see if it's coyote, bobcat, I don't know, raccoon. Could be anything. Not sure. But enough's enough. These ladies are a little edgy right now, so we've got to figure this out. There is one other possibility. Could be an inside job. Thelma over there, while she looks nice and sweet, is a savage with loose morals. Thelma, hey cat, kitty cat. I hope you don't show up on camera tonight.
A savage with loose morals. Jay Cutler.
Jay Cutler with Thelma the cat.
I mean,
who knew? Who knew Jay had it in him?
First team all hair. Like, this guy looks phenomenal.
You know what I also noticed too?
Divorce
is the thing with Jay, I always thought when he was doing his post-game press conferences after talk about loose morals, 6 interceptions or something like that. just throwing them in windows that even Ryan Fitzpatrick would look at and go, no.
Don't do that.
No, I'm not gonna. I can't. I wouldn't even dream that he would come up on the podium and have the worst body language in the history of body language. And that's the way we looked at it.
Right.
And the thing that always get me would be the face scratching. I mean, when you face scratch, that absolutely is an indication to somebody saying, yeah, it's just as. Yeah, I've got an itch, and the thing that I'm scratching is I don't give a damn. Right? That's what the facial scratch means to me.
1,000%.
But who knew? I think it's just his way of talking, because he meant every word about the chicken in the.
Oh, yeah. He then went on and said that he has a chicken guy.
Oh, by the way.
Oh, do we have this?
Yeah, we got it. Come on, it's the Rich Eisen show. Roll it.
Morning. Quick update. While they say no news is good news, in this case, we needed news. Didn't get any news. No pictures on the cam as expected. We're obviously dealing with a pretty intelligent predator. I think it is safe to say it's not the cat. So I think we can take her off the suspect list. Ladies all seem to be doing fine though. Everyone's pretty at ease, so they obviously got to get sleep. Boy, but the hunt continues. We'll see what happens today.
He said that he had a chicken guy, and he got more delivered to replace the ones that had been, met their untimely demise.
Is this in Santa Claus, Indiana, his hometown? By the way,
good question. Might be in Nashville, where where they were.
Okay.
Him and Kristen before, but unclear where this is.
Do we have the? Apparently, he posted an apology. Do we even have that? There it is. To the cat. While I'm not sorry you were accused of these vicious acts, I will be the bigger person and admit I was wrong. You are not the suspect we are looking for. Take it as a compliment for your savage ways of life. Carry on, cat. This is the Jay Cutler that we didn't know existed. Fantastic. This is the Jay Cutler we as a divided nation need. And I, for one, say this is amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm riveted by his chicken cat situation. Can you put up the apology one more time, Don? Would you mind? Because, I'm not while I'm not sorry you were accused of these vicious acts, I will be the bigger person and admit I was wrong. Those are words I think Mike Martz is still waiting to hear. And I think I can pretty much go out and say that.
Nice.
You remember when he was riding that stationary bike in the NFC Championship game against the Green Bay Packers, and then
he was legit hurt.
Caleb Haney almost got him to the Super Bowl anyway, and he was legit hurt in that game. He still was seen walking Rodeo Drive.
I think he was at the Grove.
48 hours later, I thought it was Rodeo Drive to make the optic even worse.
Let me see if I can find
even worse. I believe it was Rodeo Drive. Again, for somebody who's never cared about optics, who's never seemed to ever have a care about anything, for him to come out and show this side after all this time, I just say better late than never, Jay Cutler. We needed this.
They went to Crate and Barrel.
We needed this. And as a matter of fact, Chris Brockman, it has inspired to me one of my favorite poll questions that we've had in quite some time at Rich Eisen Show.
It's pretty good.
And by the way, call in at 844-204-RICH because I think this is going to be a fun one for sure, Chris.
How do you want this worded? So I have, who do you wish would show us their personality on social media?
No, who do you wish, which sports figure do you wish to get on social media?
All right. So here are our options. We have 3 right now. Charles Barkley.
Yes.
Because we've seen what he does on the Turner
Yes.
Show. Kawhi Leonard, because
we haven't seen him at all.
We haven't seen him at all in the last 4 months.
We haven't seen him at all.
And, the only thing we know is that his laugh is weird.
It's all right. Mike's not paying attention. Again.
Bill Belichick is the third guy.
Okay, there you go.
There you go.
Very good.
There you go.
You guys.
What are you doing over there? What are you doing?
Be honest. What are you doing?
What are you doing? Legitimately, what are you doing?
I actually was on Twitter for a second.
There you go.
Cat ate the canary.
I'm the cat. I admitted I was
Charles
wrong.
Barkley, Kawhi Leonard, Bill Belichick. Who do you wish would get on social
I think you should. Yeah, that's a good one.
Peyton Manning?
Don. Peyton Manning's another good one.
All right,
Peyton.
there's our 4th.
Bill would be the best.
Peyton would be amazing. Could
Peyton
you
would be
imagine
funny.
the Instagram story of
Eli
Peyton Manning
popped
with
on.
what's going on? Although when he came on about a month ago after his victory with Tiger over Brady and Phil, said there's no shot, right? He has no interest in getting on.
Yeah, because we were
Twitter.
talking about because Eli got on.
Right.
Yeah.
He said he had no interest. He'd be dynamite.
Bill would be good to troll response.
Bill would be great.
Trolls that trolled
No,
him.
if you just. But
Belichick.
it's difficult though for somebody who calls it snap face. But then again, look, we didn't know Jay had it in him.
I mean, yeah.
We did not know Jay had it in him at all.
You never know.
And and the fact that he would walk around and just say, you know what, and then his Instagram account is if Jay had Instagram, right? It's at if Jay had Instagram.
Yeah, so I think Kristen had started it kind of as a joke,
And then
just
he got
to
on
post
it?
pictures of Jay. Maybe that's what he got in the divorce. He got his own Instagram account.
He got custody of the Instagram
He
account.
got rights to the account.
And obviously the chickens and Thelma the cat.
I didn't take Jay as a cat guy.
I am so not a cat guy at all.
It could be an outdoor cat just watching.
I'm just not. But by the way, be careful. Be careful.
No, I'm aware.
Don't say another
aware.
word
I'm not
because
saying
cat
that.
people. I mean, Carol Baskin would
They're
take
very-
over
they're very
this.
passionate.
She would sue us and take the studio from my custody. It would be over.
They're very passionate.
Don't say anything about cats.
They're very passionate.
They're wonderful. They're wonderful animals. Trust me, I'm the best dad ever. I would know. 844-204-RICH, number to dial. So, baseball's back.
Hey.
By the way, it seems like everybody's got COVID, but baseball's back. We'll see how that works. Keith Olbermann said 50% chance the season starts, 25% chance that the World Series gets played, 0% chance that it gets finished.
Wow.
That's KO's philosophy here.
He's got the under on. Wow.
Evan Drellich will join us from The Athletic literally in a couple of minutes to give us the latest on what's going on here. And then let's talk some football. Ian Rapoport will join us on the program. He broke the news last week that Zeke popped for COVID, and apparently Zeke feeling better now. Kyle Brandt will join us. We'll say good morning, or at that point in time, at his time, good afternoon football to Kyle Brandt, with Cutler joining Instagram in this manner. He is, you want to talk about hitting the sweet spot. Cutler joining Instagram, talking about chickens with Thelma the cat. Kyle is just the perfect guest. And then Howard Beck will join us from Bleacher Report, give us the latest on the NBA, what's going on in the National Basketball Association. And at this point in time, late July, knock on wood here, at this point next month, baseball will be in the middle of their opening day weekend. The NBA will be 5 days away from tipping off in their bubble. We assume by that point the NHL will have given us the date and the where and when.
They're trying to figure out where their host city is going to
Correct.
be, right? Yeah.
They know who's in it, and they know the format that's going to be played. And then training camp's supposed to open on July 28th. As we know, the virus has got a say. Virus has a say. Our friend Charlie Blackman was COVID positive. Look, every team is going to have some form of COVID positive. And every league is going to have to figure out how to deal with it. And what's particularly frightening is we're seeing hospitalizations zoom in so many states in this country because so many people. Did you see the individuals who showed up at Palm Beach, Florida, to say that they shouldn't wear masks? That it's their God-given right to walk around without a mask. And
these are the people who are going to cost us sports this year.
Correct. I said it on NBCSN. What was it, earlier this week?
Feels like we've been saying it for months.
Come on. If you want sports, wear a damn mask. To quote the senator from Florida, Marco Rubio, as he said yesterday. He didn't say it about sports. He just said, I'm wearing a mask. You're wearing a mask, he said to the media. Just wear a damn mask.
I can agree with him on
I
that.
wear a mask. You wear a mask. Honestly, I'll just say this one more time. I'll repeat it. Because I'm a repeater. A buddy of mine who I've known since grade school, a huge heart. He is an emergency room doctor, okay, in the state of New York where things have as we know, gone in the proper direction right now. He's worried about respiking because people don't wear masks. And I asked him, what are you talking about in terms of the mask, right? Because you're seeing so many people or not.
Right.
He said, if everyone wears a mask and washes their hands, it really would combat the virus. It's that simple. Wear a mask, wash your hands, stay 6 feet away from people when you can. And let's play ball. And speaking of that front, your phone calls, 844-204-RICH, number to dial. We've got football 1 month from today. We're hoping to be talking about training camps opening. 1 month from today, we hope to be talking about, again, tip-off in the NBA in the Disney World bubble, getting ready to go. Howard Beck later on. Ian Rapoport and Colin Brandt talking about the football. And joining us that 1 month from today, we will be in the middle of what appears to be opening day weekend for the 2020 Major League Baseball season that the last time I spoke to this guy looked like it would never happen on this green earth. But it did happen, apparently. Get the latest right now from a man who's been all over it, from The Athletic, Evan Drellich, joining us back here on the show. How are you, sir?
Rich, we made it.
Did we, though? Did we? Have
sure?
we? Have we? We're sure?
Well, the next step here, and this could happen likely today, is they have to finalize the schedule. The union has to basically sign off on that, and I'm told that that is likely an occurrence today. So they are making still steady progress. And then there's this interesting possibility that we could still maybe end up with an expanded postseason if the league made an offer to the union that the union liked. And there's no indication that that's happened yet, but that possibility still does exist.
Well, I want to put a pin in that because that takes us a little bit afield of the issue that the season's going to start. What to make of all the reports that we're going to hear more and more of? We heard it already about the Texas Rangers. We heard it about the Philadelphia Phillies, the Colorado Rockies having 3 players, including our friend Charlie Blackmon, testing positive for coronavirus. The Blue Jays coming in from Canada have tested for coronavirus. I'm assuming all 30 teams are going to have some member of their crew that's going to be facilitating these games, or the players themselves testing positive for coronavirus. How does the league handle all this stuff?
Well, this is why they went from a 67-page document outlining the protocols for this season to a 101-page document. And the question of what do they do if they have a mass outbreak on a given team, there really isn't a single answer. In every situation here, they're going to have replacements available. And so you're hoping that if guys do come down with it, and they will, as you're rightly pointing out, there's no way when you have this many people, it's just a numbers game, that you're not going to have people who get COVID-19. You have to have alternatives lined up. And the question of, well, what do you do if a whole team gets it? That's still a good question. They are not intending to shut down unless they have to. But that worst-case scenario, I think, still looms in the back of people's minds.
Well, because it's not just, look, the players, we haven't heard about any hospitalizations or any serious illness, but there are, and every league's going to have to deal with this. The NBA has, Greg Popovich is a 70-year-old man. There are so many members of coaching staffs who are beyond vulnerable that if coronavirus is there and they catch it, this is a whole different story. And the question is anybody opting out? Are you hearing any of that? When does this conversation take place, Evan?
In a way, it's already taking place. Every team doctor has to put together a list in the organization, not just players, of people who are considered high risk. And nobody is going to be forced to be out there. The problem is, from an employee standpoint, the players are covered by the union. Everyone else, if they choose not to go, they're basically at the mercy of the club as to whether they are paid. And that's going to likely be a team-by-team and maybe even simply case-by-case decision, whether a team is feeling generous about a guy's position. But this is why they've developed these different protocols. If you're high risk, you have a certain set of testing procedures. If you're not high risk, they've tried being the key word, to map all this out. But it's got to be a living, breathing document. There's no way to really preemptively figure all this out.
Evan Drellich of The Athletic here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, so have the protocols been agreed to? Is that all set?
Yes, they've reached an agreement on this 101-page protocols. They've got to still set the schedule officially, as I said, but that was the end game a couple days ago here. Once the league announced we're going to do this 60-game season, the thing that took about basically a day at that point was getting the health protocols finalized, and they had been close on that for some time. It didn't take a massive amount of heavy lifting because they had already sent revisions back, the union had, to the league. But, yeah, the health protocols are agreed to, and there's going to be this joint committee between the league and the union where if there are any disputes, for example, whether a guy is indeed classified as high risk, they have a way to sort that stuff out already devised internally.
So let's get into whether players are going to maybe not show up because of the manner in which this was implemented. Is there any issue with that? Or is the bad blood that was boiling over, is that finally now at a simmer, or have we turned the heat off on that?
Oh, no, the bad blood is absolutely still going to be there, but it's going to come down really to questions of money, because if you are not high risk and you sit out, you're at the mercy of the club. And the likelihood that a club is going to say, yeah, even though you're not high risk, we're going to pay you, is very small. The question is guys who live with somebody who's high risk. So a player who has a pregnant wife or a young child, maybe a young child who's immunocompromised, and they choose to sit out. The union pushed very hard to have it in the agreement, in the health protocols, that those people could sit out and still receive service time or even pay. They didn't get that in the agreement. So if you're somebody who's living with someone high risk and you are not yourself high risk, you have a choice to make. And there's some hope that teams will be accommodating. There's some wiggle room, too. MLB has a paternity list. MLB has a restricted list where guys could go. So there's some flexibility there, but there's no guarantee for those people. So if anybody's on a bubble, I would think it's them. It's not the high-risk individuals because they're kind of taken care of. It's those who live with somebody who's high risk if they are not themselves high risk.
Evan Drellich of The Athletic here on the Rich Eisen Show. So let's talk about what this schedule is. Everybody's playing in their home stadiums? Is that how it's going to work? And then I guess I've got a two-part question there. You could start, if you will, about the Blue Jays. Are they going to have a bubble? Because I can definitely see no contact, no flying into Canada and vice versa, that the Blue Jays are just going to have to come into the United States and stay for the duration from when July 1st hits all the way through to how long they last in the season.
So as of yesterday, this is per information that the union gave to player agents. The Blue Jays have asked their government, Canadian government, local government, whoever that might end up being, for permission to play in Toronto. And they're supposed to hear back today, maybe the next couple days, an end of the week type of thing. If they get approval on that, they're going to ask to play spring training in Toronto, and that would probably take another 5 or so days to get that approval. If they don't get that approval, they'll probably go to Dunedin, which is where they train normally down in Florida, and then the alternate training site, and this part actually, as a native New York State person,
yes,
they could end up in Buffalo. They could end up playing their spring training in Buffalo, spring training part 2. So that's kind of neat, I think, and that's where their AAA team is normally.
That's the stadium that Billy Crystal used to shoot 61, right, Evan?
I'm not sure, but I believe
it's a beautiful old school stadium in Buffalo, New York, if I'm not mistaken. So that's where they would camp out, and that's where they would have their games, huh? And you know what? I mean, that would make sense in terms of the Pirates visiting, the Phillies visiting, the Yankees visiting, the Red Sox visiting, the Mets visiting. I mean, that is a geographically sound location, one would think, right? For them to play there?
The East teams in this schedule are all at something of an advantage because they don't have to change time zones. You're playing only your division, your normal division within your league, and your division in the other league. So AL East plays NL East and AL East. the West teams are really kind of screwed in this regard because they're going to have to traverse 3 different time zones there, Central, Mountain, and West Coast. So it would make sense to have the Blue Jays in Buffalo if you needed to, but I don't want to make that a likelihood at this point because they're trying to do everything they can to stay in Toronto.
Right. So, okay. So the schedule would be what? Again, national and American mixed together. It's all one big geographical happy family. Is that the way it would work?
Yeah. East plays East in both leagues. Central plays Central. West plays West. And every team is going to play 10 games against its normal division. So AL East teams are playing 10 games against every other AL East team. So that ends up being 40 games. And then the other 20 games you're playing against the East in the other league, the National League, if you're an AL East team. And most of these series are going to be 3-game and 2-game series.
Okay. And then any doubleheaders or no?
It's looking unlikely that there will be scheduled doubleheaders. It doesn't mean that we won't end up having them because realistically, there's not going to be a lot of off days here. I think it's 60 games in 66 days is what they're attempting to pull off at this point. I just don't have that number in front of me. But basically, if you have a rain out or you have to reschedule something, particularly with all these teams likely to remain something close to contention, you're not going to have a ton of teams fall out of it, so you might need to get every game played. Mm-hmm. It's totally possible at some point you end up with a doubleheader.
Okay, now let's get into Evan Drellich of The Athletic here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's now unpin what we discussed earlier on. You talked about expanded playoffs still a possibility. Is the universal DH in this mix?
For this year, the universal DH is already agreed to, and that's because of health. That's for the feeling that you're going to keep pitchers in better shape. And you just don't want a guy going down because he left second base awkwardly. You're going to have limited rosters. You're not going to have, in all likelihood, you're not going to have a full minor league schedule going on in the background. So just for health reasons, this year, you're going to have the DH in both leagues. If they had an agreement on a new deal, that would have brought the DH for next year as well. But you do still have the DH inside of this year.
Well, and in terms of that, too, Evan, with the expanded playoffs, you saw what Trevor Bauer had to say, essentially doing a little bit of a heel turn on his union. And it kind of makes sense is the fact that, okay, you wanted to keep the ability to file a grievance in your back pocket. That is what definitely keeps the ownership and management on their heels. But when management had put on the table so many different pieces of candy, I guess, that would have actually led to more money being in the pocket of the players right now, don't you think that would actually benefit? So is that why we're hearing that, or you mentioned that the expanded playoffs could be still on the table for this year?
So you're right that the league did dangle extra candy for the players. And the calculation most of the players made here is that, yes, there was a little bit more candy that we could have had, but in exchange for that, we would have had to give the league back so much more candy that it wasn't a fair deal. It doesn't mean that we as players would not have been in a slightly better position for 2020 had we taken that deal. Objectively, they would have been. There was a little bit more money available to them inside this year. It's that in return for that, they would have had to give back things that they simply valued to be a lot higher. And look, in a way, you can say the gamble worked because they're getting a 60-game season, which is exactly the number that the league had made in its last offer. It's not like they're getting fewer games here. And as it goes to the expanded postseason, that's what the league wanted. There's more money attached to it for the league if they can have the expanded postseason. If the league now turns around and says, hey, we will give you, let's say, instead of the $25 million that was discussed in the last offer, we'll give you, 50 or some number that makes the players go, okay, that's enough, then, yeah, we could still have the expanded postseason in 2020.
Okay. Evan Drellich here on the Rich Eisen Show. What am I not asking? This is really going to happen? I don't need to be trifled with anymore, quite honestly. Evan, what am I not asking? What's going on here?
You're not going to play with your emotions anymore, Rich, I don't think. The question has always been the same, going back months here. It was really never, except maybe in the last couple of weeks, it was really never, are they going to start this season? It's, are they going to finish? And the problem is, you don't have that answer. I don't have that answer. None of them have that answer. And I wouldn't say I'm completely optimistic about it. The chance that we actually get through all of this and they don't have to shut down again, that we get through a whole postseason. But it seems like most people feel like it's worth trying. And then there's, of course, some people who think baseball shouldn't even be back, that it's not safe enough. But I think the general consensus is it's worth the attempt. And thankfully, they're able to make the attempt without being halted by money rather than the health.
Right. So because if they have to stop down because of health, then everybody could sit here and say we tried. And every other league is trying. I mean, every other league is going. Every other league is going to try and figure out how to deal with coronavirus cases popping up that's expected to pop up, and hoping that therapeutics catch up and all of that stuff. My buddy Keith Olbermann tweeted out. He also texted this to me yesterday on my birthday, no less.
Happy belated.
Thank you, sir. Training camp opens 50%. Season opens 25%. Series concludes 0%. What do you think about that?
I don't think it's quite that low, honestly. But it goes back to what we were discussing earlier. They can handle a few guys testing positive, because you could test positive and be asymptomatic or have already recovered. The testing positive itself is not necessarily the most damaging. Not necessarily. The problem is, what if you have a mass outbreak to the point that you're really kind of impacting the entire character of a team, and you hope that you never get to that point. And maybe it is statistically unlikely that, in fact, you would have an outbreak quite that large. But you still have to consider that worst-case scenario. What are you going to have, 25 replacement players, 26, because that's what the roster will end up being this year. You start out with 30, then you go to 28, then you go to 26. You can't reasonably replace an entire team and say, yeah, that was the Phillies in 2020, when they look nothing like what you would expect them to be. So in the end, it could end up in kind of impugning the competitive component of this, right? If a team looks nothing like it was supposed to, well, what do you make of the 2020 season? But this is all the worst case scenario. Okay.
I'm going to ask you a baseball question, Evan. How about that? How about this before I let you go?
Wonderful.
How about this? No epidemiology, no labor law required here. Just baseball knowledge. How about this? An actual baseball question. The 60-game schedule. Give me a team, not the blue blood, okay? Not the we got $200 million in the bank, for our don't give a crap about the luxury tax.
Yankees, you mean?
No.
Oh,
Your
okay.
Red Sox too, pal, okay? By the way, Liverpool's doing great. Trust me. All right? Werner and Henry are not knocking on the door like it's trading places out there, okay?
Got it.
So give me the name of a team that we're not talking about that could that a 60-game schedule could absolutely let them catch fire and they have a shot to win a World Series this year. Evan.
I'm going to rip off my colleague at The Athletic, Jason Stark, here.
Go for it.
In his piece about a day ago. He notes that the Twins and the Indians are going to play just 4 teams that had a winning record last year. And the hardest schedules are going to go to the Marlins, Orioles, and Blue Jays, because they're going to play 7 teams that had records of 500 or better. So, look, the general principle, specific teams aside, is that if you're a mediocre team, you've got a much better chance now, because usually in a 162-game slate, you get exposed. You can have a good first half of the season. How many times have we seen somebody at the All-Star break who's kind of in it, and you're thinking, yeah, it's a wild-card team, and then they totally fade out in the second half. Well, you don't have a second half now. You don't even have a full first half. So it's going to have teams that probably shouldn't be there on their merits, but nonetheless, they're going to be there.
Right. Okay. What about the Padres? I'm only giving a wet kiss to all those Padre fans I pissed off last week because I used them basically as a foil. What about them? What about them? Give me an NL team. You got one?
Well, they were under the belief that they would end up contending this year anyway, even in a 162-game season. This is why they unveiled their new jerseys this year. It was supposed to be kind of this culmination of the franchise rebuild. The prospects had arrived. They've already signed Machado and Hosmer. I think they fit in that category of where if you were to look at it in a 162-game season, they're probably not the best team in that division. But in this setting, the NL Central is another team. I saw somebody on another division on Twitter yesterday. I can't remember what report it was, but I think it was Zip's projections or one of these fancy statistical projections.
Yes.
That whole division looks like it's going to be 3 games apart. So you're going to have wild races in every division.
Won't this be great? I mean, just if the virus will actually cooperate, that the heavens can open and we can actually finish this damn thing. That would be amazing. And what about analytics? Normally you need a big sample size. It's going to be a smaller sample size. Now you're putting somebody on second base to start the 10th inning because you don't want something going 19 innings when you only got 66 days for, 60 games. And then the rosters, who knows what's going to happen there. I mean, we're going to see actual gut feel more than ever before, do you think?
Yeah, you got to throw a lot of this stuff out the window, whether it's an adherence to analytics, whether it's an adherence to purity of the sport with the DH and the NL and everything that they're changing for this year, including that extra inning rule with the runner on second base. You don't have that option anymore. Managers can still, I'm sure, try to manage by the book as given to them by their front offices. But when every game is so magnified now, usually in the regular season of 162 games, the moments where the book gets thrown out the window anyway is highest intensity. Are you going to go by your numbers, or are you going to go by your feel for what that guy looks like at the plate today, what he's been doing lately, the body language, all that? When you're in a narrow pennant race here, which is what the season really is going to be, I do think you'll see guys managing by the book, but less by the book.
Well, maybe we could use social distancing mandates to get rid of the shift. What do you think about that? You got to spread it out. You can't be too close. Everybody's got to be on their side of second base. Damn it, I hate that shift, man. Yes, I'm sorry. I just used the pandemic to make my case to get rid of the shift. I understand you could think it's too soon.
No, it's
but I'm sorry. I hate the shift. I'm sorry, Evan. I didn't mean to drag you down with me.
I just remember the first time. Basically, the first thing Rob Manfred said publicly as a commissioner was that he was thinking about banning the shift, and he got roasted.
I'm sure he did.
For it. People could not believe it. But you know what? I did an interview with him in early October last year, right as the playoffs were starting. We were talking about these higher-level issues within the game, and he made a great point that all these GMs, their only goal is to win one more game, and it impacts the entertainment value of the sport, and he knows his office needs to be certainly one of them, I think, along with the union, thinking about, is that actually good for the sport? Yeah, it's great that the GMs want to win one more game, but is it fun to watch? And give a little bit of credit here as kind of an auxiliary bonus. You're going to get a different-looking product this year, and that in itself might be more fun to watch.
I hope so, man. You know what I mean? Yes, I hear you. My buddy DP, again, we're on Dan Patrick Radio every day on Sirius XM 211. He points out everybody wants to throw 98, 99, 100, and then there's only one way that anybody tries to hit that with a launch angle, and that's it. And that's how we wind up with strikeouts, walks, or home runs for a majority of at-bats, or at least a growing plurality of at-bats, and it's made it very difficult to watch. But I'm just glad to have something to watch, and it appears like it's going to happen. And then maybe, just maybe, this will be more of a laboratory on gut and feel that we've seen in quite some time. Maybe we get that, Evan. That would be great.
Homogeneous baseball isn't fun, or at least not as fun as it could be. I would be interested to see a team that's all speed and defense with a lineup 1 to 9 of 40 and 30 base stealers, 40 a year, 30 a year type of guys, versus a power hitting team. When everybody looks the same, and to your point about pitching, if everybody's throwing 99, the excitement of seeing 99 just disappears, and it's all about optimization and efficiency and blah, 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 corporate culture that's seeping into baseball, and it goes back to entertainment. How do you want to be entertained? I want to see a guy swipe second base occasionally.
Evan, thanks for the call. Again, great stuff. And look for my call again. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rich.
You got it. Evan Drellich of The Athletic joining me here on The Rich Eisen Show. The way he just described it, it's similar to the slam dunk contest. If everyone can dunk and everyone can go 360, it's, okay, I don't care anymore. The dunks that you see in the slam dunk contest now, if they were attempted 10 years ago, you're up out of your chair.
Yeah.
You're up out of your seat.
Like Vince Carter.
Okay? But now everyone can do it. It's like, okay, that's what 98, 99, 100 is. Used to be somebody came in throwing 95. It's just like, that is a difference maker. And so everyone's like, I got to get one of those.
Well, Nolan Ryan was like the only starter who threw 100 miles an hour.
And at age 40, noogieing people, similar to, if I'm not mistaken, to bring this first hour full circle, Wilford Brimley on the set of Cocoon.
At 51?
At 51.
Which is still crazy. That's crazy.
Wilford Brimley.
I mean.
But that was a nice, refreshing baseball conversation.
I just think whoever wins, it's like, to me, it's like me and Brock.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
I'm going to hear it.
I don't want to hear it.
Because
I don't want to hear it.
I'm a Yankee fan.
I don't want to hear it.
We would have probably been.
So what?
And
would you rather sit down and see nothing? Would you rather see nothing?
No. I want to see the game,
Okay.
but to me,
So
the winner is not the winner.
Somebody gets crowned.
Yeah.
They will have gone through a crucible, a virtual, absolute health-dodging situation.
Of 60 games.
So what?
I know.
Well, so what? I mean, last year's World Series champion wouldn't have made the playoffs in this format.
It's not the same. Anybody that raises their championship banner for 2020 in the stadium, I understand the rest of the world will think this is not the same as anybody else's banner, but they should be very proud to have it. Because they went out in the world of COVID-19.
You're right.
They were the ones who left their wives or babies at home and then wondered what they were bringing home every day. And going out on every fifth day, still trying to focus on throwing a strike, or every day still trying to focus on playing ball. And it still will mean something. And I know everybody that plays the NBA, is this going to be the same? They played 70 regular season games, 70% of the regular season. They're all convening after a 2-month break, 3-month break, to come back and live in Disney World for as long as it takes to leave whoever's at home or bring whoever's at home with them to go through a situation nobody ever imagined. Is that different? If the Lakers win, is it different? If the Bucks finally win, it's not the same?
No, it's not the same. They've already played a whole regular season.
That's a shame. That's a shame. I still
in a
think
weird way, I hope
something.
the Dodgers win this year so they can finally stop bitching.
And then you could still use it against them.
Right, exactly.
That it's not the same.
That would be great. A win-win for everybody.
But I think if they play and you're a month into it, you're 2 months into it, and you've enjoyed the 2 months of baseball, I think it'll still mean something to you that you'd still want.
I mean, I still want my team to win, but if they win the World Series, I'm not going to be like,
dude.
Hey, we remember that 2020 season?
Dude.
What a stretch run.
We won 42 games.
ALCS, Yankees versus Red Sox, which is what Rob Manfred, which is what Tony Clark.
They better hope that happens.
Which is what Bob Iger atop ESPN, which is what
Eric
Shanks atop Fox.
Oh, they want
Which
it.
is what TBS, whoever is atop TBS right now, what Zucker, they would get down on their hands and knees right now and want Yankees Red Sox for an American League Championship Series, because it would also be easier to go back and forth. You don't think you'll be like, you know what? If we lose to the Yankees, not a big deal, because it's not the same. You don't think you won't be into it?
I'll be into it, but whoever wins, like, whatever, bro.
I disagree.
Again, like I told you, this is
it's still not going to be like if the Yankees win a Canyon of Heroes.
This is like a 5-game NFL season.
It's very close.
Well,
Just think how much that would suck. And then how much of an asterisk would be on if, say, the Bengals win the Super Bowl? Like, not going to matter.
So, Chris, can I ask, are you saying...
TJ Jefferson chiming in. What's up, TJ? Because he's expecting the Cowboys to win it. So, TJ, come on.
I'm just wondering, so is Chris saying that we shouldn't play then? Did I miss that part? If the championship doesn't count?
No, it's fine. We can play because economically and the country needs it. But to say whoever wins the World Series this year is one of the greatest teams ever or whatever...
I don't think
chance.
But I don't think anybody is going to say that unless the Yankees or your Red Sox go 50-10, right? You go 50-10, somebody just absolutely dominates and crushes it and nails it. How about this?
If somebody hits 411, what are we going to do?
What we'll do is say that was one of the best 60-game stretches you've ever seen. You're not going to sit there and give somebody the batting title. You can give him a batting title, but it won't be the same as 162 games. And this is going to be the same thing if baseball ever plays 150 games. By the way, get ready for when the NFL plays 17. It's coming. It's coming. So get ready for when they finally, knock on wood, play one more game. Suddenly you'll be doing what? You'll be looking at the records.
I'm talking about a third of the game.
You know what I'm saying is it's still apples and oranges. You're still going to look at a 17-game NFL season and stop at 16 games and say what's a record and what's not. You're not going to have somebody...
Maybe, but the records don't mean as much in the NFL as they do in baseball.
Hold on a second. Mahomes has the record for most touchdown passes in a season, correct?
No.
Who?
Peyton Manning does.
Mahomes didn't break that record, or he threw 50. Okay, so Peyton Manning does, right? So Peyton Manning's record, whatever the hell that is, I don't know what it is off the top of my head.
It's 55, I think.
Okay, so let's just say Jared Stidham has 54 touchdown passes after 16 games. All right,
and they're 12.
Let's just say that.
Okay.
All right, he's got 54 touchdown passes after 16 games because Stid is your dream come true.
Great.
Okay, so Stid then throws 2 touchdown passes in Week 17. He's the all-time touchdown leader, or he's not?
Not really.
Okay,
like Barry Bonds.
That's what I'm saying. So right now, it's the same thing.
But
Get ready for that.
Records don't mean anything in football like they do in baseball.
About?
What do you mean? You didn't even know how many touchdowns Peyton Manning had, but everyone knows 61, 70, 73. Everyone 406, 56-game hitting streak. Everyone knows those. What's the all-time single-season rushing leader?
I don't know it off the top of my head.
Exactly, because they don't mean as much as baseball.
No, it means as much. It's just, there's just it's not an easy number to just remember. I'm a 51-year-old man. I don't remember what I did yesterday all of a sudden.
It's easier to remember 56 than 2105, too. Just
as a sheer fact of rounding up and rounding down. I hope.
I think all of sports this year have a giant asterisk, and we just need to take it for what it is. This is a way to kind of bring the country back together and feel like this year isn't an absolute disaster,
right?
And just kind of X through it on our calendars. We need this, and let's be. We don't need to celebrate our championships like.
Then let's be honest. That is
trying to be real,
dude.
Here.
That is for another day. And I know you're bringing it up now in advance. We've got to get these games going. We've got to get there before we start arguing what it means, and then we've got to experience it before we talk about what it means. Really. I don't think 2001 was one of the most special years for me in sports because the Yankees made the World Series. I think it's because sports was a way for everybody to start feeling normal again after 9/11. So I'm sitting here and thinking we don't know what this sports is going to mean to us until we're sitting at home and experiencing them. And then we could start talking about what it means if we're lucky enough to have a champion crowned. So I guess we can table that discussion and understand that, I know my buddy Andrew Brandt at I guess for SI was saying, if health was the most important thing, the NFL wouldn't play. That the economics or why they're playing. And if health was the most important thing, the NFL wouldn't play. You could say that about absolutely everything that is still operating right now. You could say that about every sport that's attempting to play. It's not just the NFL. You could say that about this show. If health mattered, we would all be sitting at home. You'd be sitting there cradling Cage. I'd be sitting there trying to get my kids off their iPads. And Del Tufo would be sitting there drinking once again with Olaf.
I might start again.
You know what I mean? I'm serious. Like we're all attempting this because it's needed to be done. What if the NFL didn't play? What would they do for a draft order? What would they do? My God, I couldn't even imagine. So, there's all of that. I guess let's just live the sport before we decide what it means. But I understand that if we are fortunate enough to get there and there's a big banner unfurled, it'll mean a lot to the team that's unfurled it, and to the rest of the league, it'll be akin to the Colts putting up their AFC Central title banner.
Pretty much.
Okay. Like I understand that.
Yeah. Which is fine.
But you just want higher register. You can't just say which is fine, higher register. You just can't. Because that just totally undercuts your point. It's not fine. Ian Rapoport will join us. Your phone calls. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We're going to take your calls right after this break. We're live on YouTube. Our YouTube stream, youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show. We say hello to all the 454s, and we'll see you in a second. Same to our Sirius XM Channel 211 listeners.
I don't know if you're aware, but you going to Yale was brought up on Game 2 of the NBA Finals.
No way.
Yes, because...
Was it the part where the Cavs were really losing at the end?
No, it's not that. It's not that. No. It's that Jeff Van Gundy, who was on the broadcast, said he went to school with you.
No way.
In a class. Do you...
Sorry, Jeff. Don't remember you. You weren't that memorable. Oops.
You don't remember Jeff Van Gundy
I'm afraid
in class?
I don't. I'm afraid I don't.
Because the reverse is true.
No. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Your phone wasn't lighting up from friends saying,
No, I wish I'd seen it. I wish I'd seen him. I would have been able to see his face and maybe, but I was...
I think we could. Can we bring up a picture of Jeff Van Gundy? I don't know. So just stroll down memory lane here. The one in the middle is Jeff Van Gundy. Does that ring a bell to you?
That rings no bell whatsoever. I'm so sorry, Jeff.
No class reunions at all between Jodie Foster and Jeff Van Gundy. Okay. We noticed you mentioned on the air that you were classmates with Jodie Foster at Yale.
Yeah, and then you cheap shotted me afterwards.
No, I don't know. I don't know
like,
about cheap.
You brought her on and just feigned total indifference to my existence in the world. It was a setup. I mean... Our freshman year, there was 12 guys on the floor. We all threw in $100 and said, hey, the first guy that gets a date with Jodie Foster, you win the money. I'm coming back from the gym in the early fall, and there's a candy shop right outside the big quad for freshmen. The popcorn is popping. It smells great. And from behind me, someone goes, man, that popcorn smells good. And I turn around, and it's her. And I totally choke, and I say, yeah, and I run to my dorm, right? I was scared. I was intimidated by her.
Rich Eisen Show. This is the Rich Eisen Show.
He's a beast that wants to feast.
Oh, my God.
Live from the Rich Eisen Show studio in Los Angeles.
First of all, I say to you, Cowboy fans, you in particular are not getting Jamal Adams.
Heard nationwide, televised online at richeisenshow.com. Earlier on the show, the Athletic MLB writer Evan Drellich. Coming up, NFL Network insider Ian Rapoport. Co-host of Good Morning Football, Kyle Brandt. Bleacher Report senior NBA writer Howard Beck. And now, it's Rich Eisen.
Okay, and welcome to hour 2 of our Thursday program here in late June 2020, in the middle of a pandemic and depression and everything else going on in the world. We're trying to have a nice little ray of sunshine for at least 3 hours on this program. A lot of football to have a conversation about and a lot of talk to have with you at 844-204-RICH, number to dial. Ian Rapoport, my colleague from the NFL Media Group, is going to be, we'll be dialing him up in about 20 minutes' time. Kyle Brandt of Good Morning Football, top of our final hour with Howard Beck joining us to talk a little bit of NBA action. We talked with Evan Drellich of the Athletic about what's going on in the baseball season. That was in our first hour. Check everything out right there with him on our YouTube stream, youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show. We say hello to our 454s. We're having fun with the Jay Cutler Instagram joining our poll question today that's sitting at Rich Eisen Show. Chris Brockman, you want to introduce it for those maybe joining us at the top of our second hour?
Yeah, of course.
What do we got?
Well, if you guys didn't notice yesterday, Jay Cutler took to Instagram stories for the first time, if Jay had Instagram on Instagram. And he's got this thing going on with his chickens and his cat. Real-time updates, too. Very fascinating and riveting stuff. So it was a cool new side of Jay that a lot of people probably don't know. They just think of him as this jerk who used to play for the Bears and the Dolphins and what have you. So we were wondering, which sports figure would you like to see on social media to maybe show some of this personality that maybe we didn't know existed? So we went with Bill Belichick, Peyton Manning, Kawhi Leonard, Charles Barkley.
Okay. I guess you could add Curt Schilling to that list because he seemed to deactivate his account after having a set to with Trevor Bauer. Man, jeez. Talk about a Twitter beef. I had my popcorn chewing for that one. He and Trevor Bauer going. Trevor Bauer trolling Curt Schilling after Schilling barged in. I guess him and Aubrey Huff were going at it.
People have been having fun with Aubrey Huff's expense.
Well, I mean, Aubrey Huff, if somebody could make a mask with Aubrey Huff's face on it, that would be great. I might wear that walking around. But at any rate, Trevor Bauer trolling Curt Schilling for being better than Curt Schilling was absurd. Talking about all different metrics and statistics in which he's better than Curt Schilling.
Is he joking?
I don't know.
Or
say what you will about Curt and what he says and what his political beliefs are and whatever he did in the state of Rhode Island and all that stuff. Curt Schilling has Hall of Fame credentials through and through.
Yeah,
Curt Schilling was one of the most dominant pitchers of his time. Curt Schilling could not be beaten. Curt Schilling also had a great
here we
red
go.
Sharpie.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
Right, Mikey?
Oh, yeah. Ketchup and red
just
Sharpie.
Just like the natural, right in the middle.
Yep.
Right in the middle of a big moment.
Wow.
He has the scar, Brockman's going to say.
Oh, my gosh.
He had surgery on his foot.
Well, also, Roy Hobbs had the scar, too.
That's true.
That's a movie.
Let's take some phone calls here on the Rich Eisen Show. 844-204-RICH is the number to dial. Denton in South Carolina. You're here on the Rich Eisen Show. What's up, Denton?
Hey, Rich. How are you?
What's going on in your mind, sir?
Not much. I want to say thank you for you guys putting on the show and keeping me at peace here.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and real quick, I just want to also say that I'm battling a addiction, and you and DP have kind of help me in that process and just kind of distract my mind. So, again, thank you.
My pleasure, Denton, about whatever we can do, which we'll do as long as we possibly can. And you just take it one moment at a time, one step at a time, and stay positive.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk, though. What do you got on your mind?
Unfortunately, I was born being a Jets fan, so seeing all this Jamal Adams, ruckus.
Okay.
Just seeing what you had your mind on. So
Jamal's in a tough spot where he plays a position that he excels at, but is a spot that normally doesn't make such a major difference that they need to be one of the highest paid at the position. But he's also got the upper hand in the fact that he's one of the best players on the team. The fan base loves him, and he definitely is in a position where he should make as much money as he possibly can. He's not going anywhere. All right. As I said last week, the Jets have him under contract in 2020. They have the ability to keep him for 2021. They have 2 years of contractual control. There is no way they're going to trade him right now. There's no reason to trade him right now. The time to trade him would be next year, right before draft. We can actually get draft choices for him. And Cowboys fans that are salivating for him, they can't afford him. And there's no way that he's going anywhere. And this is such, in my mind, a non-story. I've got Ian Rapoport coming up in 14 minutes. I don't know if he will disagree with me. But Jamal, he's in a tough spot. And he should try and get as much money as he possibly can. But he's not going to get it from the Jets right now. And he's not going to be traded. So that's my 2 cents on that subject. You hang in there, Denton, okay?
Well, thank you so much, and I really appreciate hearing your voice, and thank you so much.
My pleasure. That's Denton in South Carolina. 844-204-RICH, number to dial here on the show. When a team has got somebody under contract for 2 years, they don't have to make the move. Honestly, I don't think that Jamal Adams, just, again, if he's the quarterback, running backs don't get paid that much anymore. Wide receivers, unless they're completely game-changing. How many free safeties do you know are the first ones who hoist the Lombardi Trophy for their team? Or strong safeties? Ed Reed leaps to mind, right? Polamalu?
Ronnie Lott, maybe? But even still, he was behind Joe and Jerry. I don't know.
Just come close to what Eddie Jackson gets paid. Just come close. Problem is that the predecessor of the Jets let Joe Douglas's predecessor go through free agency and give a ton of money to C.J. Mosley, who played no time. Gave a ton of money to Le'Veon Bell instead of paying your own and having something when you had the cap room to put some aside for Jamal Adams.
I'm the general manager of the New York Jets.
Not that one.
That was several GMs ago.
So we'll talk about it with Ian Rapoport in about 12 minutes when he joins us. Now then, I want to address NASCAR and Bubba Wallace. It was a beautiful moment for me in Talladega. This happened after we went off the air on Monday, Christopher. Indeed. And again, we haven't discussed it because we were off on Tuesday and Wednesday. And so it was a beautiful moment at Talladega for the restart that Bubba Wallace, it was a rain out the day before, that Bubba Wallace was walked out by his compatriots, the 43 car, circled, ringed by his fellow drivers, and the rest, as you could see, look at that crowd of NASCAR.
It was amazing.
Crew members for the rest of the circuit out there supporting Bubba Wallace. After it was announced by NASCAR with a full-on, full-throated statement on Sunday that a noose was found in his garage at Talladega. And the feds were called in on this to see if there was a federal hate crime that had been committed by a noose being left in the garage at Talladega of the lone person of color on the NASCAR circuit, okay? The person of color who drives on the NASCAR circuit. And I was full-throated here as well in condemning this, in condemning it, acting on all the information that I had placed in front of me. And NASCAR was right for saying what they said, even though we found out from the FBI and the DOJ that had been called in that this was a piece of rope that was used as a garage door pull, and that this was placed and had been at Talladega Raceway since last October. A garage door pull rope fashioned like a noose had been positioned there since as early as last fall, well before the 43 team's arrival and garage assignment, so nobody there knew that the lone person of color who drives on the circuit would occupy that garage. We appreciate the FBI's quick and thorough investigation and are thankful to learn this was not an intentional racist act against Bubba. We remain steadfast in our commitment to providing a welcoming and inclusive environment for all who love racing. And, of course, so many people then rushed in to say that people like me rushed in too soon to condemn, as if this was something that, for me, a rush to judgment that was unfair. And to that I say, I'm acting on only what I had heard. Not a single person at the time when this happened said, this sounds completely out of the realm of possibility. We should wait to hear something. Clearly, the rest of the NASCAR community didn't feel that way. Bomani Jones, just seek out what he said on Will Cain's show yesterday. It's a perfect response. That the benefit of the doubt that should have been given has not been earned. And that may outrage many people who are out there hearing me right now. And to that I say, let's take a look at what NASCAR put out just about a half an hour ago. Here's the photograph. Anybody who knows garage door pull ropes, anything ever look like that to you? Has anybody ever seen a rope on a garage door that looks like this? That's a noose. This is why it was taken seriously.
Yeah, that's why the FBI was called.
This is why everybody walked Bubba Wallace out. I'm sure they strolled by and saw it, saying that's kind of out of the ordinary. And now my question is how did the FBI and the DOJ look at that and not know if that's the way it was since last October? Nobody ever looked at that and said that that looks out of the ordinary? I'm now looking at a tweet from a Fox Sports NASCAR reporter, Bob Pockras. NASCAR says of 1,684 garage stalls, only 11 have pulled down tie rope with a knot, and only Wallace's stall was a noose. NASCAR also confirms that the noose wasn't tied like that in the garage stall at the start of the October 2019 race weekend, that it happened during the weekend. During the weekend in which everybody knew whose garage stall that was. Okay, so now we need to wait to hear everything, because there's something still missing. This thing hasn't been just wrapped up. Now, Bubba will say, and has said, he said it on CNN, he said it on many other places, he's not the one who reported it. It was a member of his crew that saw it first. So somebody looked at it and said, this is really strange and odd. Put that photograph up again. Seriously, anybody out there in our YouTube stream, anybody out there in our Sirius XM audience who's seeing this right now, you tell me. And wouldn't this be, even if it is tied like a noose, to try and pull something down? Not even a functional knot, if you pull it by the noose. Because as you know, nooses are made to tighten. So this is serious. Could you imagine if that had come out, that photograph had come out before the Fed said there's nothing to see here? How would you have viewed the nothing to see here statement? A bit of skepticism.
Yeah, kind of bogus.
And I'm not just saying this because, but trust me, here I am looking at my birthday, just looking at some of the comments on our YouTube stream and of me ripping whoever placed a noose in Bubba Wallace's garage about how heinous and reprehensible. And I do know, to whoever did point this out, I did misuse the word scurrilous. That is true. I had to look it up again. I misused it. So what? I saw all the comments saying that I jumped to conclusions. Shouldn't I apologize? To who? Who am I apologizing to? I'm acting on something that the rest of NASCAR clearly acted on. And it was a beautiful, beautiful statement that everybody made on behalf of Bubba Wallace and against racism. It was beautiful. And I'm glad I reacted that way. And I'm glad that NASCAR reacted this way too. And anybody, I'm seeing folks saying NASCAR shouldn't have put out that statement. If they didn't put out that original statement and this got found out that this had happened and NASCAR didn't react the way that it did, wouldn't they be accused, and rightfully so, of soft pedaling the response? And just to think again what Bubba Wallace has to think about as he's going to work. Seeing Confederate flags still flying and flying over what? Defund, there was somebody flew around, defund NASCAR with a Confederate flag flying around. So this is the circumstances in which somebody says, hey, there's a garage pull-down tie rope that looks nothing like what I've seen anywhere else. Now, I know people will start posting, this is another one that looks like it, this is another one that looks like it. NASCAR confirms the noose wasn't tied like this in the garage stall at the start of the October 2019 race weekend, and that it happened during the weekend. Is there video of somebody messing with that rope, and how have we not found out about it? (844-204-RICH) number to dial. Happy to have a conversation. Happy to have a conversation. Not happy about the subject matter. Let's go to our phone lines right now before Ian Rapoport joins us here on the show. Greg in Oregon. What's up, Greg?
Hey, Rich.
What's on your mind, Gregory?
I don't want to rain on anybody's parade.
Okay.
But with all the golfers withdrawing and a few testing positive, a few withdrawing because of relatives, et cetera, I just got very pessimistic about baseball, basketball, and football. Golf is the most socially distanced sport naturally.
Right.
And, you know, so if they're struggling, I just don't see what the chances are.
I hear you, Greg, and I don't want to rain on anybody's parade. I mean, I'm looking up the reason why we're preempted off of NBC Sportsnet today is because there's a Premier League match that's going on right now. I mean, so far so good there, and I just I know that the PGA Tour had Nick Watney test positive for the first time, and we're hearing so many other of You know, right, and I know that people are withdrawing, and I totally understand that and totally relate as to why they would, and just sit this thing out. Let's just take it one step at a time and see how this progresses. There's still a month to go before the seasons start. The NBA is going to go first. Major League Baseball is going to try and go in about a week's time to show up. Let's just try and hope. That's all I'm going to say to you on that front. Let's just try and see how it goes.
Rich, the one thing I would reply to is that you're talking about European countries. They're getting a better handle on this than we are.
Right.
Let's face it. You know, so that's comparing apples to oranges in a way. You know, and this virus has a mind of its own, and if we don't behave properly, which we're not, you know, nobody's wearing masks, we're crowding beaches, you know, we're having, you know, peaks in many different states, including the state where, you know, basketball is going.
No, I know, and they're gonna have a bubble community, and again, like I said, we will see. And Greg, let's just hope. And I appreciate the call. Keep watching. Please call back.
Okay.
Because again, I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe this is pie in the sky. I just don't know why I'm thinking the NFL has got some sort of, that there's going to be some sort of testing or some sort of therapeutic that can be made available by late August, early September that can make this thing work. I don't know. I don't know. Let's go to Jeff in Detroit. What's up, Jeffrey? How you been, brother?
Hey, what's going on? How are you, Unc?
I'm better for talking to you.
Happy belated Father's Day and happy belated birthday.
Thanks,
to you,
Jeff.
my friend.
Thank you. You always got something interesting on your mind. What's on your mind, Jeffrey?
Well, in all honesty, I was getting ready to go a little lighthearted, but after seeing the picture, I'm a little upset because, in all honesty, there's no way that you can sit there and tell me that that is not a noose. I know what I'm looking at. And I know personally, as an African-American male that has witnessed racism firsthand, how it can be sly and slick. And how, oh, I didn't mean that, I meant this. You know what I'm saying? And it kind of works its way into fabric of our nation like that, man. And it's sad because there's no way that you can even call that a garage pull. In order to pull a garage down, you have to lift up and then pull it. You know what I'm saying? It looks like it's right in the middle. I can't understand it. But the one thing that I can say is that I'm proud of NASCAR for rallying like it did, showing love like it did, because in the end, that's the only thing that's going to get us through is if we come together. If we come together, man, we can't do this alone. We are human beings. We all share this earth together.
I love you, Jeff.
Have a good one.
No, I appreciate that. Brother. Thank you. Bubba's statement after the noose is the photograph of the noose. That's what it is. It's been an emotional few days. Oh, this is after the investigation. First off, I want to say how relieved I am that the investigation revealed that this wasn't what we feared it was. I want to thank my team, NASCAR, and the FBI for acting swiftly and treating this as a real threat. I think we gladly take a little embarrassment over what the alternatives could have been. Make no mistake, though some will try, this should not detract from the show of unity we had on Monday and the progress we've made as a sport to be a more welcoming environment for all. And I'm sure Bubba had to have seen this, right? I mean, they had to have walked over and looked at it after it was. I know he said he didn't initially see it. He wasn't the first to see it.
I would imagine so.
I mean, that photograph can't be news to Bubba Wallace. So whatever he was told or heard, he had to have said, okay, I hear it. It makes sense. The rest of us are seeing this without the full details of whatever Bubba was told or NASCAR was told to accept the findings of the federal investigators. So the image is absolutely of a noose. Oh, man. This is just absolutely a wild few months that we've had. I mean, honestly, we could teach a class in social contract and social.
Yeah, we're halfway.
In society, I mean, we're
It's
not.
nuts.
It's insane the stuff that we are talking about every single day.
This could be a
and it's not. And I know it's like there's no
Crazy,
sports.
man.
You could say there's no sports, but this is from one of the only sports that's actually running.
Yeah.
By the way, they're doing
it
fine,
No,
right?
they're doing it right.
And there's a ton of people there. I mean, the amount of people that are on the screen with Bubba Wallace behind the drivers who are supporting him.
Right.
And the pit crews.
You could talk about. I know.
I mean, they're
and-
full teams.
Right.
They're full teams.
So take a look at how many people there are there. And so they're pulling this thing off. Joining us now here on the Rich Eisen Show, my buddy from the NFL Media Group, Ian Rapoport. How are you, brother?
Good, Rich. Sorry about the delay. We were taping a segment of One More Thing on NFL Now, and just to let you know
Yes, sir.
how serious it was, one of our rules as the work-from-home situation has progressed is if someone interrupts your live shot, you have to put that person on TV. So my dog Molly is going to be on One More Thing on TV because she was barking very, very loudly.
These things happen, sir. These things happen. Kids, I saw Aditi Kinkhabwala's beautiful family made a cameo the other day on camera.
Yep.
These things happen.
Yep.
And we are one family at the NFL Media Group. So let's start things off with some real football conversations. I keep saying the Jamal Adams conversation, wanting him out, having a trade, et cetera, and everybody else picking up on where can he go, who could be interested. To me, that's just it's a non-starter. Why in the world would the Jets, with 2 years of contractual control, trade this guy? You tell me if I'm wrong.
I'm with you, and I get it because this happens frequently. Anytime there's, trade rumors, it's always like, all right, and look, we're in the entertainment world. I get it. So on TV, it's always like, all right, who's the best fit for Jamal Adams? You know who's a very good fit? The Jets. Very good fit.
Yes.
He's young. He's great. He is sort of a, kind of a leader type, very emotional. So maybe not the classic leader, but can kind of get the team charged up. 2 years of control on his contract. And then the other thing is, Joe Douglas is in his first time as a general manager. He's still trying to establish the parameters of his team. He's not going to give in to the whims of a player or get sort of forced into doing a contract with 2 years to go. I mean, this is all about setting precedent. And my gut says that the Jets just go, okay, we'll see what happens. And if Jamal Adams wants to hold out, given that the CBA basically becomes holdout proof, good luck to him.
Plus, again, on top of it, just it makes no sense for them to make a move right now. I mean, what are they afraid he's not going to show up to the Microsoft team meeting? I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's not like there's even on-field work that we can see is happening right now. It's in the draft in which they would actually accrue the picks, even if somebody bowls them over with first rounders, that doesn't help for 2020 when you're trying to evaluate Sam Darnold or at least get him in the right direction after a remarkably, surprising finish by the team last year. None of it makes sense. None of it from the Jets' point of view.
And then the other thing is, let's just say, for argument's sake, that a trade is possible. And I know there's some interest. I haven't heard anyone like banging down the Jets' door, but there's certainly some interest. Okay, so you trade for Jamal Adams, you give up a first rounder for a safety. Seems far-fetched, but I guess crazier things have happened. And then you got to pay him. So then you give up a first, you pay $16 million for a safety. Not all teams would even pay that to one of their own safeties. It's not a position that traditionally has been one of the highest paid or the focuses of getting those guys under contract. Now, he's a good player. I get that, but that's insanely expensive to do all of that. So it's possible, but I wouldn't describe it as likely.
Ian Rapoport here on the Rich Eisen Show. I love the words that you and the rest of our colleagues in this business use. It's you got to leave yourself some wiggle room because you never know if something crazy can happen on that front. But again,
I will say this, Rich. In the trade world, and now that the NFL has become like trade crazy the last 3 years,
yes,
I have forced myself to never say that's crazy. It's not happening because I've been told. I would 45 minutes before Calais Campbell was traded to the Ravens.
Yes,
I was told it's not happening, and I didn't report it, and then it literally happened. So, as you mentioned,
I'm sure you could fill the rest of our segment with stories like that over your entire career.
Yeah,
and then you see colleagues of yours at different outlets break it anyway, and then you call somebody up and say, "What the hell was that all about?" I'm sure we could fill the rest of this segment on that.
I could fill a dictionary with the words I've used instead of hell, but yes.
Very good. Ian Rapoport here on the Rich Eisen Show. Read me the tea leaves of why Dak signed his tender this week. Is it out of the blue? I mean, what is the strategy here with July 15th being a long-term contractual deadline for he and the Cowboys?
So as far as I could tell, this was actually the plan all along. And I think for every franchise player, you want the long-term contract, right? And you want to be able to kind of do whatever you want because you're not actually under contract with the tag. So what a lot of guys do is, you sign it the third week of the preseason, you roll in, you get a little work, and then you just play the season. That's a pretty standard move for, players who are franchised. You lock in your money, you miss training camp, and whatever. That's that. But this year, given the pandemic, there's some uncertainty. So a lot more guys this year wanted to lock in their salaries just in case. And Dak wanted the same, but, I think there's been a little bit of an effort to make sure that the Cowboys know he's not going to do a team-friendly deal, and he's not going to be kind of I hate to say this, but like the goody two-shoes that most quarterbacks are. He's going to take a strong business stance, and in this case, that meant staying away for the virtual offseason. So his plan was to sign it right when the virtual offseason ended, and it ended for the Cowboys last week. So he signed it on Monday.
Okay, so then he's now in the fold. I imagine the issue is how the salary cap's affected by COVID-19 in future years, and how cap strung that could leave the Cowboys. Is that what the issue is now, on top of all the back and forth that may have been going on between Dak and the Cowboys, to keep this thing as an open question to this point?
That definitely is a concern. And what the thought process now is that the NFL and the NFLP will somehow be able to get the cap to be flat next year. There's going to be some lost revenue, could be as much as $40 or $50 million per team. But then you have the new TV deals. There are ways where they can sort of make up the money and finagle it so the cap is flat. So it's an issue, but the parties involved think they will be able to work it out. What's more of an issue in Dak's case is there's been a trend for players now to do shorter-term deals. It's not as sexy to say, like the numbers don't look as big when you do a 3-year deal, but for a player it's much better because you can re-up sooner. So that's what Dak wants, a 4-year deal. The Cowboys have only offered 5 years. And I honestly don't know which side caves. It might be neither side. And if a deal doesn't get done, that's why.
Ian Rapoport joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. And then the issue of a season. I put it in front of you. You must get asked this all the time. I get asked this all the time. What do you think about a 2020 season? And my response is the same, that the virus will have the last say, but everything that I know and hear is that the NFL has every intention of playing. What do you hear, Ian?
Yeah, the same. And I will say this, Rich. It's incredible the amount of really good, smart, successful coaches, agents, high-up executives who will call and ask, are we going to have a season? It's, usually I would say, ask your owner or something, but nobody actually knows. So it's been weird to hear very good football coaches call and be like, so what do you think? It's just been an odd dynamic because they don't call me and ask about play calling, but they do ask, is there going to be a season? And I get the same sense you do, that it is going to go on as scheduled with minimal fans to start, and then we'll see. I think the most important thing, really, of all the things that we've heard, the most important thing was Dr. Alan Sills, the NFL's chief medical officer saying there are going to be positive tests. It is going to happen. Get used to it. It will happen. It will be a storyline. It will happen. And once you accept that there will be some positive tests, you can see how it would go on. Let's say just a lot, let's say you have 2 a week per team. Let's just say. That seems like a lot, but let's just say that's the case. So that's, more than 60 per week. Okay, well, that's basically like 2 players being injured for a week or 2, however long the quarantine is. They get better, they test negative, and then they move on. I mean, that's, I think, what the season is going to be like. And the protocols are so strict that if the players don't go out and don't put themselves in danger, it seems like it's going to be okay.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, the issue is that, with an injury, normally like a sprained MCL suffered by a player doesn't threaten the life of the aging assistant coach that's still in the same mix. That's the obvious, difference between what we're supposing together here and what may actually happen with somebody testing positive for COVID. And I'm just wondering what the players are thinking based on what you're hearing. Malcolm Jenkins, who was hired by CNN to be a correspondent or at least an analyst, I guess is the better phrase here, was told CNN this morning, called football a non-essential business, so we don't need to do it. The risk has to be really eliminated before I would feel comfortable with going back. I've mentioned, I think, to you before, and I say to pretty much everybody who's an NFL person coming on here, like, thank goodness the Players Association and the NFL agreed to a 10-year collective bargaining agreement right before the pandemic, because it would be a totally different ball of wax, right? So your reaction means that you would agree with me. But what are you hearing from players right now that you talk to on this front?
I mean, just quickly, you bring this up. Like, I actually think about what would have happened had they not agreed.
Right.
And, a week later, the pandemic and the world shuts down. Like, would they have re-voted? I mean, I
don't know.
You're right. I mean, thank everything that this actually happened, because 10 years of financial security is much, much better than not.
Well, you're seeing what baseball's going through with their CBA coming up at the end of the 2021 season. I mean, all the negotiations to just get back on the field this year was fraught with all the, lack of trust that any collective bargaining agreement conversation would have, even though their CBA doesn't, lapse until after next season. But now I'll let you answer the question. Are you hearing that players might be echoing what Malcolm told CNN today, that maybe when it comes down to it, they might not want to report?
I have heard probably not as much of that as I thought I might. I just don't. This is all sort of anecdotal, because obviously I can't talk to all the players, but I really get the sense that most of the guys are like, okay, it's not that bad. We're going to figure this out, which, we don't know. That's one of the problems, is we don't know how bad it is. It's like there's some people saying like, oh, well, players should get it now and then they won't have to worry about it during the season. We don't even know, first of all, if everyone will 100% recover. We don't know if you can get it again. It's absolutely incredible, the amount of things that we as a world just don't know. But I feel like most players are okay with taking the risk, not believing that is a big risk. And also, again, like, the protocols are hardcore. I mean, it is intense. And I think that is really going to end up helping in the long run.
See, I guess the wait and see aspect of it, honestly, I feel like sometimes I need a degree in public health to do the job that I'm doing right now, in the same way I needed a legal labor degree back during the lockout. So what do you hear? Is it on a report date? I mean, because rubber is going to have to meet the road very, very soon. I mean, the amount of time that the NFL has had to wait and see how the circumstances of the virus on the ground could affect their season. What are you hearing about? A full-on report date late July 28th is a date that's been thrown out there. What are you hearing on that front, Ian?
Yeah, sounds like July 28th is the date. And that was actually the original date. And I'd made way too many phone calls to try to figure out when players are going to report, only to be told yesterday that there's been no change. So basically, teams are going to report the 28th, and they'll kind of just start going. And, you know, I'll be curious to see if the NFLPA mandates a ramp-up period. Like, okay, for the first week, you can't do football, or for the first week, it's only strength and conditioning. I don't know. But this is why I think it's going to go slow. And then this is why there's probably going to be only 2 or maybe less preseason games, because it's going to take a while to build back up to football where everyone's kind of safe. And I would say this, just kind of go back to one of the things you mentioned before, Rich. You know, I don't like, let's say that something happens where it goes bad, where just there's an outbreak and just a lot of players are testing positive. I don't know when there is a point they would say, okay, we're shutting it down. Like, that's what of all the questions I've asked, that's been one that there's been no answer. You know, they're going to do everything right. They're going to administer the protocols. They're going to test. There's going to be positive. Those guys will be isolated. They'll be quarantined. I just don't know what happens if there is a worst-case scenario, and let's just all hope, for those of us who love football, that it never happens.
And are you hearing about, you know, different types of newfangled testing or new, you know, like the NBA, again, is going to have the players wearing a magic ring around their you know, wrists that's normally used to open doors and things like that and gain access in Disney World. They're going to outfit it for some sort of coronavirus test, you know, tracking or awareness system. Are you hearing anything about that, Ian? At all?
No. I feel like those are, not to minimize the scientific progress that those associated with that development have made, but doesn't that seem like those brass bands that they have infomercials for? They're like, okay, this brass band is going to make sure I'm healthy. Or like, who knows?
I don't know.
No.
You like that one, Chris?
Are those like the sleeves, the copper sleeves, like those?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Copper, not brass. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I just think that the NFL has so many ins and so much, you know, money to be able to throw at this that we're going to find something out. I don't know. Maybe that's just, you know, hoping for too much. But it does seem, again, I haven't heard a single soul saying this isn't, you know, we need to be, we're going to push it. We're going to delay it. I haven't heard that at all. Zero. Except for the fact that today.
The only people I've heard that have talked about that have been really just head coaches who are nervous, but in people really in power, no one has said that. Whereas, like you mentioned, the lockout, like at the time, it was always like, get ready to miss games, prepare for anything, and then they didn't miss any games, and it was like, okay. But this has been the opposite. Every person in power that I ask on all sides says they're going to play.
I'm hearing the same thing, Ian. I'm hearing the same exact thing. All right. Appreciate the time. I hope you're and in the meantime, we could just all huddle around the warmth of Jay Cutler's new Instagram account. Right? I mean, of all the guys,
I watched the whole. I watched every second of his IG stories, and I am all in on who the chicken serial killer is.
Right.
All in.
Have you heard any information on that, Ian? I know you're tracking down many stories in the NFL, but have you found out any information about that at all?
You know what? I have a pretty good source close to Jay Cutler.
Yes.
Who I'm going to text right now to see if I can break the story of who's killing the chickens before he posts it on IG.
All right. I mean, I've got Urlacher's number too, Ian. So.
Come on, guys.
He's got hair now. I don't know what that
I'm aware of that.
It's true.
I'm aware of that, Ian. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
Take care, Rich.
You got it. That's Ian Rapoport, the NFL Media Group. Should we get Urlacher on the phone to talk about Cutler's Instagram account?
I don't.
By the way, that's truly out of the near 6 years that we've been on the air. One of my favorite endeavors.
Let's see if they follow.
Is to just, you know, have Urlacher take whatever Cutler shrapnel I care to give in his direction. That's my favorite thing, and he always knows it's
Cutler
coming.
Shrapnel. He always knows. He knows it's coming.
There's new video. Is there a new video on this, friend? Okay. You got it, Don? I'm ready. You wanna roll it?
All right. Here's the deal. My chicken guy, Blake, dropped me off some more chickens.
Oh, this is from yesterday.
Some pretty reds, a few browns. The old crew's up here. Everyone's on edge for tonight, obviously. Big night, huh, ladies?
Yeah, this is from yesterday.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. He has a chicken guy.
So we're going to stay up.
We'll keep going. Blake the chicken guy?
Blake.
So we got Thelma the cat, Blake the chicken guy.
This is a sitcom.
And Jay Cutler.
This is the reality show that we
want
need.
this. We need this right now. Like just following
Very
around
Cavallari,
Yep.
whatever.
So
I want
very
Jay Cutler and his farm animals.
What does our poll question currently look like right now, Chris?
Okay, so
I was planning. It's one of those things. It's like I was planning on. As I'm driving to work today. Again, it's been 2 days. I was truly planning on having a light 3-hour show. We've been talking about such heavy stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm like, you know what? I just want to have as much fun as I possibly can have. And obviously, the world keeps crashing in.
Yeah, who should which sports figure should get on social media?
Okay, so that's why I'm loving the Jay Cutler stuff.
So Kawhi's at the bottom. No love for the fun guy. 6%. Bill Belichick.
Hold on a second. Kawhi's in last place.
Kawhi's in last.
Because everybody thinks there'd be nothing interesting. Well, nobody saw. If I told you Jay Cutler's going to get on Instagram, you would not think he was going to give you some sort of chicken coop drama.
He's the chicken king.
Some sort of chicken coop crime drama. He would not. He's the chicken king.
Chicken king.
What did he call his cat? Like the savagery?
You did not think that Jay Exotic would show up.
Exactly. No.
Thelma the cat. What else you got over there, Chris?
Bill Belichick and the Adventures of Nike the dog.
No explanation for what happened.
12%. And then the two front runners here, Charles Barkley, 36%, Peyton Manning, 47%.
I think Charles would be good.
That's what the reason why they're winning is people think that they would be funny and fun to follow. And that if their entire lives, everything in their lives, from their chickens to whatever, is fodder and content, you'd want to see it. Wouldn't you want to see? There's no way that Belichick would not be interesting if he does actually share.
Do it and
right?
share. Exactly.
He'd have to share. Like, give us the tour of 8 rings. Give us the tour of Nike the dog's,
dog walking.
Yeah. Right. Walk the dog with Nike. Right?
Oh, yeah. Like, if Bill did, nightly Instagram lives of the walk, of Nike's walk, come on. Who's not tuning in for that?
The reason why Kawhi's in last place is because the fake story about the apples that was put out by somebody on Twitter about him talking about.
Did he bring apples to the club?
He brought
he brought a bag of apples to the club.
A bag of apples to the club, and all he wanted to talk about was the apples. And you just think that is real, and it wasn't real at all. Kawhi even trended on Twitter once because of that. And the only other time he trended was because of this laugh. If you remember, I think, Milwaukee, when he was on Toronto, when he was called for traveling, they played that in the arena.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
That was way back when.
All right, so the story
when we used to have sports, and that was a big moment.
The fake story of the Spurs went out for a team dinner.
Yep.
And when it was time to order, Kawhi waved off the waiter and instead pulled out a bag of 12 apples. Popovich asked what he was doing, and Kawhi simply replied, "Apple time," and then ate all 12 apples with a fork and knife.
This was put out on Twitter.
That was a fake story.
And everybody went crazy about it.
Because we believed it.
Because we believed it because we have no frame of reference as to what Kawhi is like.
So funny.
So,
we don't even know where he is.
As you know, boredom abhors a vacuum? Is that the words? Or is that so we just figure we'll just fill it up with an Apple story, Apple time, right? That was Apple time. That's real. So nobody wants to see Kawhi's Instagram because they figure that all will be let in on is Apple time, and he might be totally fascinating. I'm trying to pound the table here for Kawhi. All right, let's take this phone call because he's been holding on for quite some time. Joe in San Diego. What's up, Joseph?
Hey, Rich. It's me again.
Hello. Hey, Joe.
Congratulations on best dad ever, by the way. That's a big accomplishment.
Hey, you know what, man? No one can take this away from me. But this is again, I've got the price tag on the back. It's very valuable.
It's a beautiful thing.
Thanks, bud.
So I gotta. First of all, thank you for mentioning the Padres.
My pleasure. I smoked you out, huh, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Brockman, you got to appreciate that the asterisk isn't a bad one. It's not a PED. It's not a banging trash cans, right? It's we're all dealing with it. So a team like the Padres, even though we have the Dodgers in our division, it's kind of exciting that we only have a few games to play. It's almost like a big softball Saturday tournament where we're just going to, all right, here we go.
I agree with you.
I really appreciate it.
I agree with you. What if you take like 7 to 10 from the Dodgers, 8 to 10 from the Dodgers, that the Dodgers can't figure out the Padres in this shortened season, and then all of a sudden the Dodgers are supposed to be the 2020 World Series favorites when there is no pandemic. The pandemic hits, and they still can't get past the Padres. I think that's going to be something that everyone's going to, other than Dodger fans, enjoy, or you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to give you what you want right now, Joe, because you held on for so long.
I realize I'm the lower tier being a Padre fan, but I think a lot of those Cincinnati Reds, Detroit Tigers, Kansas City Royal fans would like this kind of situation when they're, it's a short season, and why not? Asterisk be damned, it'd be fun. And a World Series is a World Series, as far as I'm concerned, for someone who doesn't have one.
So you would have no problem with a banner raising, is what you're saying?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
All right. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Thanks for holding on as long as you did. So your response to him would be, when you have no banners, there's no asterisk?
By the way,
Mr. Babe Ruth curse has now got 4. He's now got 4. Now suddenly.
You went there, not me.
I'm reading your mind. That's exactly what you're saying. Tell me you weren't thinking that. Look me in the eye, Chris.
I can't do it.
Lean into the Rich Eisen show mic flagged microphone and tell me,
I can't do
Rich, that's not what I was thinking.
I'm not going to do that. I plead the fifth. Hit that drop, Mike.
You can't find it in time. Don't worry. Don't worry.
But look, when you have no championships,
there you go.
It's super easy to just be like, 60 games, let's raise a banner and have a parade. Where would the parade in San Diego even be?
Wow. Gas lamp
district.
I mean, the beach, they're going to go to the dog beach and celebrate? I mean, come on.
SeaWorld? Come on now, man.
Gas lamp.
They raise one. They raise one.
Amazing.
They raise a banner in Petco.
I'll tell you that.
Is it still called Petco? Is that where they went? Dude, you're the one who went there and hit golf balls.
It's a great stadium. Yeah, Petco.
It is, actually.
Yeah,
we did.
We dominated. Great job by us, Mike. I'm going to repost that video, actually, right now at Rich Eisen Show.
Oh, my word. Still Petco, everybody.
Yeah.
I'm just trolling. I mean, it would be great if the Padres won. It'd be awesome. It'd be a great story. And then when this real season started in 2021, we'd be like, oh, that was cute.
Do you think the reason why people don't want Kawhi Leonard's Instagram account to be active or see it is that they just think that he's got nothing to talk about? There's would nobody want to see what Kawhi Leonard's doing for the day? Nobody thinks it's interesting.
I bet it's
in a world where everything is content.
Way more interesting
Bill
than we
Belichick's
think.
dog became content. Jay Cutler's chickens are content.
That's right.
Out of just sheer respect for everyone, I didn't make what
it's actually true.
What is?
Well, last year on that, or a couple years ago, again, Kristen Cavallari used to run that page as a way to just have content about Jay out there. That's why it's called If Jay Had Instagram.
Right.
And she posted like a nude photo of him from behind.
That's right.
Looking out at the ocean.
His ass was content.
Yeah.
So, of course, if he talks, it's
Jay Cutler's moon was content.
There you go.
Exactly.
And out of sheer respect, I'm not going to make what I did Tuesday morning in a medical procedure as content. Out of sheer respect for everybody in the process.
Please don't. Yeah, please don't.
Look at this. If Jay Had Instagram has almost 500,000 followers.
Because now he's doing it himself. Like
and
I said, he got this in a divorce.
I don't have Instagram, but if I did, ... and now I do.
Yeah.
He has changed his bio.
Cooking at a grill.
He's taken over. This was in the divorce. He got this. Like some people argue over airline miles and stuff. He got the Instagram page.
People argue over airline miles.
That's that opening scene of Wedding Crashers.
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, which you haven't seen.
Which I haven't seen.
Oh,
I have to say, we were talking about this morning. How is
that possible?
Brockman, you got way more than I do. He has way more.
Great. Movies that came out before I was born
greatest
don't
movies
count.
of all time. Though.
In the last
you
decade,
have not seen Wedding Crashers.
I've seen bits and pieces. I've never watched full through. But now I'm making...
Wedding Crashers is as good as it gets for, I guess, 21st century comedy.
Agreed.
Haven't seen that either.
Old school or Wedding Crashers, you get only one choice. I go Wedding Crashers. I go Wedding Crashers over Old School.
It's like choosing among my children.
I'm sorry, I don't. Which
I have
Wilson?
one.
Which Wilson do you choose, Owen or Luke? All right. Make that a poll question. You have only one movie to watch. We'll ask this Kyle Brandt. This is perfect. Jay Cutler's Instagram, and then this question we just stumbled upon. You can only watch one: Wedding Crashers or Old School. I choose Wedding Crashers.
I can't decide. Or The Hangover? We're going to add that in, or just keep it to the Wilsons
the only connective
and Will
tissue
Ferrell.
between Wedding Crashers and The Hangover is Bradley Cooper.
And Will Ferrell.
And Will Ferrell is in The Hangover?
Not in The Hangover. I mean,
right. No, I know.
Wedding Crashers and Old
Just
School.
leave it. Wedding Crashers or Old School. Because that's from the similar vein. They've got a Wilson. They've got Will Ferrell. Kyle Brandt's going to join us from Good Morning Football. Hour number 3. Howard Beck on the latest from the NBA as well. And your phone calls at 844-204-RICH on The Rich Eisen Show.
That is the most, in my mind, rewatchable movie there is.
Fugitive, does it hold up or what?
It does. We wanted, on behalf of fans of the film, thank you for catching the switching of the samples.
Oh, the liver samples?
Without you.
You are welcome.
RG90.
You know?
Wow.
Harrison Ford, perhaps the most beat up movie star of all time.
Yeah,
he gets his...
Oh, yeah. Well, he does his own stunts, too. I mean, that's his own damn fault.
Is that... did you do your own stunts?
I did all of my own stunts. I actually handled the liver samples with these fingers and ungloved.
Your character in 40-Year-Old Virgin Paula was originally written as a male character.
Yes, indeed. It was written for a man, and then with my eternal gratitude, Steve Carell's wife, Nancy Walls, who's a wonderful actress herself, said, because I knew them from Chicago, said, you have a lot of men in your film. Why don't you read Jane for the store manager? And so we improvised together, and we had a lot of fun. And Judd Apatow said, oh, we'll cast her. So I'm very grateful to that whole crew of people for giving me that job.
Do you remember the song you sang in that?
Yes, I do.
In Spanish, can you?
Oh, absolutely. I'll just tell you right away that this is from an ALM Spanish dialogue, or dialgo, as you call it. And it's
yes,
and it's a dialogue, and it goes like this. Cuando arreglo en mi cuarto, no encuentro nada. ¿Dónde va con tanta prisa al partido de fútbol? Thank you. And it means whenever I clean my room, I can't find anything. Where are you going with such haste to a football game? It's not romantic at all.
No, obviously. But the way it sounds.
Yeah, it's the way you deliver
it. That's it.
This is the Rich Eisen Show.
He's a beast that wants to feast.
Oh, my God.
Live from the Rich Eisen Show studio in Los Angeles.
First of all, I say to you, Cowboy fans, you in particular are not getting Jamal Adams.
Heard nationwide, televised online at richeisenshow.com. Earlier on the show, the Athletic MLB writer Evan Drellich, NFL Network insider Ian Rapoport. Coming up, co-host of Good Morning Football, Kyle Brandt, Bleacher Report senior NBA writer Howard Beck. And now, it's Rich Eisen.
Did you jar it, TJ?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was looking down at my Twitter feed here.
Jarred it.
Okay, very good. Well done, TJ.
That's what I do. But wait, come on. That's what
TJ Jefferson, one of the best in the business. We love TJ and what he does for our social media feeds at Rich Eisen Show. What is he on putting? Is he literally 50%?
I would say he's 50%.
Okay, it's all good though.
Maybe 51.
Well done, TJ.
Yeah,
well
we'll
done,
give him
TJ.
51.
So we got Del Tufo and we got Brockman over there, and there's TJ Jefferson. Welcome back to his social media post. There we go. Very good. We've already had Evan Drellich of the Athletic to talk baseball. We're talking some football with Ian Rapoport last hour. Howard Beck will be joining us shortly here on the program to discuss what the association is planning to do once I guess it's all about to tip off in Disney World. In the next month. But as I started the show, we're all looking in this pandemic world for a distraction. We're all looking for a laugh. We're all looking to forget about things for a while. And the hero that we need, we had no idea, was named Jay Cutler. And him taking to Instagram to give us a live, I guess an Instagram story accounting of what's going on with his chickens. His cat named Thelma, and his chicken guy named Blake. Again, the hero that we didn't know existed. And as soon as I saw all this yesterday, I said there's only one man who can help place it all in perspective, who can all tell us what's up, what's down on this front. And that's my good friend from Good Morning Football, Kyle Brandt, back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Kyle?
Rich, I'm thrilled to be on, and I don't give a damn if I'm late. Happy birthday, you beautiful man.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Kyle. Thank you very much. A day late is not a dollar short anymore. I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's okay, Rich. I just want to know if doesn't being 50 plus and a Michigan man, doesn't that make you eligible to be the Buccaneers quarterback?
It does. As a matter of fact, I've been asked to do that, but I said, you know what?
Get in there. Let
TB12 be that guy. Even though I did take to Instagram to have a blue steel selfie yesterday.
Oh yeah.
And I'm kind of feeling like I'm a fine wine on that front. The remarkable thing though is that on my blue steel selfie, Chris Brockman responded with a fascinating comment that I forget, that I'm now the same age that Wilford Brimley was somehow when he was in Cocoon, which is remarkable.
Wilford Brimley, Cocoon,
51.
Diabetes commercials, Our House, and I think the movie The Firm. He looks like he's 40 years older than you, though, Will.
Quaker Oatmeal, too.
I know that.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do. But I can't imagine. Again, we checked on the ages of Messrs. Cronin, Amici, and Guilford.
They're all in their 70s.
As well as the ages of what? Ms. Tandy.
Miss Tandy, Don Amici.
Yeah, all of it. They were all in their 70s. And the youngin', who I guess was, putting the whoopee cushions under the seats, not acting his age. Wilford Brimley was 51.
Who knew? He was like the Juju Smith-Schuster of the Cocoon cast. How do you measure up to the cast of Batteries Not Included, Rich? That's the next cross-examination.
Hold on a second.
Great movie, great reference, Kyle. Well done.
If Wilford was the Juju Smith-Schuster, does that make Don Amici or Hume Cronin the Antonio Brown? Is that what makes that? Or
it could be.
The Big Ben was
as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Cronin and Amici kept working though throughout. They were always in demand, whereas the other one is unemployed.
Who was team MVP and required the other guy to
I don't know. Oh my gosh. Now, Jay Cutler, did you think Jay had this in him? Kyle, let's be honest here.
Well, at this point, I think we can just start calling him Jay Exotic.
Yes.
Because if I would have thought if in the quarantine period, you would think that the market on a wild Southerner getting in the cage with animals would have been cornered by Joe Maldonado Passage, current incarcerated felon. And yet it wasn't even the best one. Cutler just completely took that game from him. I'm riveted because we have a whodunit. And I don't know what the answer was. I only saw the teaser video that someone's killing chickens. He thought it might be the cat, but then he threw out a bunch of other theories. Did we get an answer yet? Because I'm on the edge of my seat.
Well, he has Instagrammed out an apology today. I don't know if you had that information on Good Morning Football today. Yeah, he Instagrammed out, because he did a couple of videos yesterday, and then he Instagrammed out an apology to the cat. While I'm not sorry you were accused of these vicious acts, I'm reading verbatim, I will be the bigger person and admit I was wrong. You are not the suspect we are looking for. Take it as a compliment for your savage ways of life. Carry on, cat. You know, and so it's interesting. Carry on, cat. He finishes up with a very, very Seussian type 3-word sentence. But Don, if you could put that Instagram up one more time. The words that leapt out at me, interestingly enough, was "I will be the bigger person and admit I was wrong." And as I said in the top of the show, those are words I think Mike Martz is still waiting to hear. Kyle?
Oh, it's beautiful. And Rich, he should hear them. It's funny because, you know, Jay is apologizing for damaging the reputation of cats.
Yes.
And yet I still see no apology for all the damage he's done to bears, because I think there might be some culpability there, too.
Hey, now.
Kyle Brandt, everybody. I'm giving you a round of applause. I didn't expect this one. I didn't expect Jay to take to Instagram and then turn his life into content, because he looked like what were the words you used before to describe the way he utter disdain and sheer indifference. By the way, which was a great opening act years ago when Utter Disdain opened up for sheer indifference. That's what he showed when he was in the Cavallari reality show. You know,
I think I saw Utter Disdain an Ozfest 2002 incredible set they did opening for, I don't know who it was, probably Ozzy himself, but that show started, and the whole pitch of the show is you've got Kristen and she's doing the thing, and then Jay is the begrudged getting dragged along, almost like a hostage, it felt like. But, you know, Rich, when they did American Idol, they probably thought Paula Abdul was going to be the star of the show, and you bring in Randy and the singers. You want some of that Simon Cowell disgust.
Yes, you do.
Especially now when everybody's annoyed with everything. It becomes really, really relatable that Cutler's over it and rolling his eyes, because guess what the rest of us are doing?
I also noticed that he had the same body language during his Instagram feed, Kyle, as he would have when he had throwing like 6 interceptions one day, and throwing in windows that Ryan Fitzpatrick would look at and go, "No, I'm not going to try that." You know,
it was a remarkable symmetry. I watched him once walk off the field against the 49ers, having just completely collapsed. I think it was 4 interceptions, and 3 of them were in the red zone. And if you were to freeze his shoulders and neck, it's exactly like he looks walking into whatever boutique he was being dragged into, or in a chicken coop. There's like nothing has changed. That playing style has stayed the same, and we love it.
I do too.
By the way, the Bears lost that game 10-6. Cutler had 5 picks in that game.
Oh my word!
November 12th, 2009.
Never change. And again, I'm just so glad he had it in him. You know, we kind of need all of this stuff. So what do you think is the biggest football story that's not involved with COVID? What are you guys talking about that you've been enjoying hitting in the morning, Kyle?
A lot of Bucks, a lot of Tampa Bay, and I don't know, Rich. We had a question this morning, and it was, which Tampa Bay Buccaneer are you looking at? As you know, at this point, like we're churning up anything we can to talk about it. I think we already did the which Stranger Things character would Baker Mayfield be segment. So today we got
Kyle,
which Buccaneers player are you looking at?
Kyle, you're talking to somebody. By the way, Kyle, you're talking to somebody who kept the light on during a lockout on NFL Network on NFL Total Access since 2011. So I absolutely hear you. So which Buccaneer am I looking at? Is that and is that an open-ended question?
Who's the most fascinating watch?
Oh man, I mean, you can't go Brady because that's the obvious, right?
Bruce Arians.
Yeah.
You could go Arians, but to me, it's Gronk. Florida man Gronk, without Belichick standing over his shoulder, without Gronk kind of peering out his peripheral to see what the coach is thinking. That Arians just the no risk it, no biscuit coach, plus Gronk, plus Florida, to me, I think is rife with must-see television. That's what I would say to that answer. I would have to choose Gronk, especially since also
there seems to be that theory.
Yes,
that kind of like a Bushwood caddy swim feel that Gronkowski's season might have right now.
Was it 1 to 115?
You're waiting your whole life for this. And to your point, Rich, not only is he in Florida, I went deep. If you look at the Bucs' schedule, in December and November, there's no cold weather games. All their road games are on the road. They're at Atlanta, I think, and they're at Detroit. So none of that like late December Foxborough action.
Yes.
He's got a coach who just likes to bust chops and have cocktails. Yeah. He's now playing in a stadium that literally has a damn pirate ship in it that fires cannons. It's like a child's paradise. I think we're seeing the best Gronk this year. And I had a theory about Gronk. I want to bounce this off of you.
Yes.
If the hypothetical plays out that we get great Gronk this year, like it really works. He's loose, he's fierce, he's a red zone maniac, he's spiking it, he's dancing. We get the 10 out of 10 Gronk. It was a real success. And he's out there saying, taking that year off was the best thing I've ever done. My body feels great, my head feels great. Is there not a possibility for others adapting the gap year strategy? I'm looking at guys who are veterans, who have been beat up and injured, who have made a ton of money on and off the field, who are like, you know what? I think I could use a year. If you look at somebody like a J.J. Watt or a Richard Sherman, who could retire for a year and unretire, and immediately a bunch of teams would want to sign him. If Gronk says this is the best thing I've ever done, maybe that's the copycat trend. Instead of everyone just retiring early now, maybe you just need a year to go on the beach and do a little commentating, make some money, do some video games, then come back ready to go. If it works for him, I think it could work for other guys.
Yeah, go out and dance with the Laker girls and go to Times Square and spike Steve Harvey's Lego head. And
he's on all these game shows now.
Yeah. Well, do the Masked Singer. Yeah. Do the Masked Singer, where it was so obvious it was him. And by the way, speaking of Fox shows, my kids are so locked in on J.J. Watt, T.J. Watt, and Derek Watt doing Ultimate Tag. Have you seen this? Have you seen this show, Kyle?
Okay. I've seen the show American Gladiators. I was a big fan of Nitro and Gemini, but that was 20 years ago, and I've not seen Ultimate Tag. I've heard about it. Like, tell me about it. Is this something we got to watch?
There's some Running Man vibe to it because the taggers all have nicknames and slick videos when they're introduced as the taggers. Okay, it's okay. And then there's the Watt brothers who are the hosts of this show. And I'm an expert at this because my kids not only watch it live, they then rewatch it over and over and over again throughout the week. And TJ and Derek are standing there next to JJ, who's in the middle almost every time. And JJ is the prompter reader. He does all the nuts and bolts. Okay. Derek and TJ sometimes do the interviews with the people who are avoiding the tags, the contestants. And it was clear that early on they needed to come up with a catchphrase. And it's a catchphrase that I run up and say to my kids all the time, and they roll their eyes because I'm the dad. It starts with JJ saying, "It's time to play some tag." Like literally says that. That's how it starts. Okay. Let's go. Okay. Here we go. It's now ready. Okay. So and so is ready. Flame is ready to do the tagging, and she's like got this red hair, and she's ready to go tag you. And now so and so is ready. It's time to play some tag. Like I want a shirt. Yes, he says it every time. He says it like 90 times during the program. And my kids can't get enough of it.
Tom Brady running on the field at Gillette Stadium saying, "Let's go." It's J.J. Watt saying, "Hey, let's play some tag."
It's time to play some tag. And it's time to play some tag.
Time to play some tag.
Oh, my God.
Is he going to say that after a
you
sack
had me
this
at the
year?
Running Man, Rich.
Maybe.
I mean, that's one of the all-timers. And if JJ is the de facto host, Are you in some kind of way linking J.J. Watt and Richard Dawson? Because that sounds like the perfect human.
Well, J.J.'s less evil than Richard Dawson in this.
Only in a rerun.
In terms of fake reality tag show hosts, he's much nicer. In terms of game show hosts, he doesn't kiss a single person during Ultimate Tag. Not even.
Who loves you and who do you love?
Oh, I love the Running Man. Oh, I'm watching it.
Man, here's a Running Man home game. When he gives that out, that's
it was
fantastic.
just on the other day. Still as good as it was. When it
we got again. Do we have? Okay. Ask him the new poll question that we had.
New poll, Kyle.
Based on Mike Del Tufo's blind spot in his movie viewing experience.
You can only watch one. You can only watch one. Wedding Crashers, Old School.
Mm-hmm.
You have to choose which one.
That's the two options.
Those are the two options.
That's it.
You can only watch one.
Okay, so the answer is Old School. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because you get a lot more Farrell for your buck. As good as he is in Wedding Crashers, it's a hilarious cameo with the nunchucks and the meatloaf, but it's way late in the movie. Give me a bigger factor of Vince and Will Ferrell over a lot of Owen Wilson saying, "Wow." I'm gonna go with Old School.
That's a good Owen Wilson right there, man.
After further consideration on my part, that's the right answer. Yeah. Old School is the right answer. Here.
Okay.
I went the other direction.
You don't get Wedding Crashers if there's no Old School.
Okay, Old School.
All right.
Wait, Rich, were you a Wedding Crashers guy? It's fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but this is the 2-1 in the finals of the bracket here. Somebody's got to go.
No, I would go Wedding Crashers over Old School. I really would.
Oh, really? How come?
I just think, first of all, I love Bradley Cooper in his role. I think Bradley Cooper in his role is fantastic. Isla Fisher is just a drop of honey on the planet. I do like Owen Wilson. I find him very funny. I think this is Vince Vaughn at his finest outside of Swingers. And Will Ferrell cameo at the end is fantastic. Like, his meatloaf line is better than any of his lines in Old School. And I will take that to the mat. Even though I know, and I use that.
Yeah, I mean, Isla Fisher. I would think Jane Seymour also a drop of honey. I would only counter that if you look at the apex scene, like what is the funniest scene in both movies? They both have a lot. It's tough to beat Snoop Dogg in the middle of a set and then a fully naked Will Ferrell coming on stage and then streaking through the town, his wife picking up in a car. Yeah. They're saying it's a little bit cold out there, and his line is the Wendy's still open? Like, that whole sequence is so good. I just think of the apex to apex factor. I have to go with Old School.
Okay, and since you know lines very well, what's I don't know if you've ever been asked this. I've never asked you this question, Kyle Brandt. Your favorite line that you ever delivered on Days of Our Lives?
Oh, that's a great question.
Because again, you spent three seasons, right? Or 4 seasons through 3 years. You played the character of Philip Kyriakis, correct? Did I nail that right?
That's right, absolutely. Philip Kyriakis, a young Greek gentleman. You can tell by me, I'm a Greek man. And 3.5 years. They don't even do seasons, Rich. It's just year-round.
Okay.
52 weeks a year. It never stops.
Okay, so which is your favorite line where it doesn't have to include a music swell at the end, but that would be helpful. What would it be, Kyle, that you delivered, your favorite line?
I had a walk-off, Rich, and people ask me all the time on my departure from Days of Our Lives, was I killed? No, I was not. I had the airport scene, bag over the shoulder, walk down the jetway, stop on your mark, pause, turn over the left shoulder whimsically, and look at your love. My love was named Belle.
Yes.
And as I walked down the jetway, I had a lot of weight that I was carrying, Philip, about this. The town of Salem had rejected him and how he was going to be triumphant. And the line was, Belle, I'm not leaving this town. This town's leaving me. And I had a single tear. And I walked, and it doesn't even make sense because I literally deliver it as I was about to physically leave the house. But I don't question those things on the soap set. I had the single tear, and I'll tell you how you separate the adults from the children on soaps. Everybody can cry on command. It's just like taking batting practice in MLB. You got to cry on command. But when I started there, the great Deidre Hall, who plays Marlena for 30 years.
Yes.
I saw the director come up to her and say, Deidre, can we get a tear here for your close-up before we go to commercial and sell fabric softener? Can we get the tear here? And she literally said to him, would you like the tear from the left eye or the right eye?
Oh,
and I said,
wow.
That's
What a flex.
That's GOAT stuff. That's
Wow.
it. That's the Michael Jordan of soaps. I never could go ambidextrous. I think I was only a southpaw crier. But those how you know they're real maniacs. They can go either eye.
So this town, I'm not leaving this town. This town's leaving me. Right?
I don't even know if it makes sense. It's
As
like
he
the
was
worst
leaving?
Yogi
As
Berra
you're leaving
quote of all
town.
time. But
Right.
again, the check cleared, and I was leaving the show. That's the last line I think I ever uttered
Sounds
on the
like
program.
a Tim McGraw song.
It does sound like you do need to have a stiff drink with that. Kyle, I always enjoy our chats, man. You take care of yourself. We'll chat again soon.
Rich, I'm going to go out and play with the kids right now
Do
because
it.
guess what? It's time to play some tag.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
It's time to play. No, you got to do it one more time. Again, this is, and I know you know.
A little too excited.
No,
Coach me.
it's time to play some tag like that. Like you got to.
Oh,
you
like
gotta,
NBC.
Yeah, you're right. It's time to play some tag. That's how he does it.
Okay.
Can you do it?
I'm not going to play some tag. Some tag is going to play me.
Attaboy, everybody.
That's it. That's all I got.
Very good. Looking over his shoulder.
Sands through the hourglass, Rich.
These are the days of Kyle Brandt on the Rich Eisen. He's not leaving the show. The show's leaving him. Kyle Brandt, everybody.
Hey, now.
Fantastic. Man, that guy cracks me up.
Rack him.
What a great spot by Kyle Brandt.
Well done.
Fantastic. Good morning football every morning on NFL Network. Seriously, that's what J.J. Watt says. It's time to play some tag.
What do you think?
My kids can't get enough.
What do you
But
think?
they roll their eyes. I keep trying to get them to say it in a video, so I send it to J.J. Watt, like, this is what you're doing to my children. They won't do it.
What were the rejected taglines for tag?
I don't know. I'd love to
like,
get
that
JJ
seems
on
like
to
an
talk
SNL
about it.
skit or something.
Got to get JJ on to talk about it. It's amazing. I'm serious. And again, Cooper doesn't understand why he doesn't let his younger brothers do more talking. But you heard
he's the star.
Well, no, but you also heard when the three of them, we Zoomed with them in advance of Ultimate Tag starting. JJ reads the prompter. The other guys were terrible at it.
Can't do the prompter.
So he doesn't understand. And yesterday, they came on, JJ, TJ, Derek. He didn't come on the air and say, hi, I'm JJ Watt. This is my brother, TJ. This is my brother, Derek. He just said, I'm JJ Watt. Didn't introduce his brothers and just went right into it. Just went right into it.
Do you think afterward the brothers were like,
What
bro,
gives?
like, you got to introduce him?
No, I just think it was probably like the fourth shoot of the day, and they're like, let's just get the hell going here. It's time to play some tag.
Again, the ones that hit the cutting room floor.
I'd love to know.
That's what I want to know.
844-204-RICH, number to dial. Pleased to have Bleacher Report's own, one of the finest in the association media, none other than Howard Beck back here on the show. How are you, Howard?
I'm doing all right, Rich. How are you?
Hanging in there. I did see you the other day. Have you really not had a haircut during the quarantine at all? How long have you gone without a haircut?
Not. March 13th was my last haircut. This is, I think, the longest I've gone in my adult life without a haircut.
Wow.
It's looking really wild. I'm approaching, like, before I finally got rid of the lockdown beard because it was just too much. I was approaching, like, Saul Berenson of Homeland levels.
Okay. Great, good Mandy
Saul
Patinkin
Berenson,
reference.
An episode where he'd been like kidnapped and like in a cell somewhere, you know, in Pakistan for 3 months. That's what
you had.
Getting bad. So I at least got rid of the Saul Berenson beard, but the hair is a disaster.
Not to ruin it for anybody, but the Saul Berenson character in Homeland, played by the great Mandy Patinkin. If you ever notice, and Homeland viewers will notice, Saul is always walking. He's always going somewhere.
Aggressively.
He's walking aggressively.
Aggressively
walking through an office, walking to a phone. He's constantly walking. He doesn't stand still. He's constantly walking. No. Have you noticed that?
Always angry.
I know. I always.
He's a busy man, and he's got urgent matters to deal with at all times.
Yes.
Much like me.
Again, you're very Saul Berenson-like, so I'm glad you got rid of the beard and you're here on the show. Where do things stand right now in the association? We're ready to tip off. Is that what's happening right now? What do you got for me?
I have been trying to preach, like, not caution, but caveats ever since they started down this road of we're going to restart the season. It's going to be in a bubble. It's going to be at the Disney campus. And everybody says, okay, great, we're back. Let's talk. Like, what, who's the favorites? And I've just, every time I've tried to pump the brakes, just saying, listen, there's a plan, but that doesn't mean we're actually, we're a long way from there. Like 3 weeks ago, whenever they first started to roll this out, we were still like almost 2 months from a start date. As you and I talked today, we're still, 5-6 weeks or something from when they'll play the first game or hope to play the first game. And as I've said all along, a lot can change. Well, a lot has changed. In the last 3 weeks, certain parts of the country, including Orange County, Florida, where the Disney Wide World of Sports complex is gotten really bad. The worst surge of cases that we've seen in months. So that certainly would give me pause. Whether that gives Adam Silver pause or the Players Union pause or anyone else associated with this restart plan, we'll see. I have no doubt that it does. Like, I'm sure that they're monitoring this and are not thrilled with what they're seeing unfold. But at the same time, I don't know what the threshold is. How bad does it have to get? How many hospitalizations per day, or how many deaths, how many cases? What's the tipping point for them to say, you know what, it's just not worth it? I don't know if there's a number. I don't know if this is just by feel, or if one day their epidemiologists that they're consulting walk in. Well, they don't walk into any offices at this point, but they pull up Adam on the Zoom call and say, Adam, we think you got to call this thing off. I don't know what that tipping point is, but I assume that there is one. And, but look, right now it's all, it's all a go. And there are players that we've seen day by day deciding not to go. But it's only a handful. The league is viable. The stars are all going as far as we can tell. And I think chances are this still probably happens unless things get really catastrophic in Central Florida.
Well, I mean, just like everything, Howard, COVID is finding the weak spots in everything, whether it's our healthcare system or people's relationships. Just seriously, not to go too deep here, but it is real world stuff that COVID seems to find the weak spots, people's feelings of loneliness, and it just keeps on putting the pressure on. Trevor Ariza saying he's not going because he's got visitation rights for only 1 month this year, and it's during the bubble time. He's not going. I mean, this is real life stuff. Are you hearing any more stories of maybe people coming over from Europe don't want to come because Western Europe, the European Union, seems to have gotten a much better handle on this than our country? What are you hearing about players? Because that's, to me, the way that this doesn't go. That whatever plan they have for COVID and their health and safety protocols they feel is ready to just got to get everyone there, and then they can zip up the community there in Disney World. What are you hearing from other players that say, I don't want to go for whatever reason?
Something that an agent told me a couple of weeks back was, and I don't remember what the number he threw out was, and I don't even know if it was just an estimate on his part just based on conversations, but there were I think a few dozen players who had girlfriends or wives expecting children this summer, or sometime between, now and maybe when the bubble ends. And they were saying, listen, just on that alone, guys are not going to want to be cut off from their pregnant girlfriends, pregnant wives. That's a perfectly reasonable thing. And he's like, keep an eye out for that. In terms of guys coming back from Europe, I mean, I haven't heard anything, or from around the world, I haven't heard anything along those lines in terms of just, that the U.S. is in a worse off shape than a lot of other places. But look, anything you or I could think of that might crop up as a concern, the spike in cases in Florida, any general concern about exposing yourself, travel, what it might mean for your family, just injury concerns, because they've all been off for so long that nobody's in basketball shape, and they're only going to have a few weeks to ramp up. This is like nothing else they've ever done, because in a normal off season, you have access to gyms, and you're still playing pickup ball, and you still can work with your trainer. This is like nothing else that these players have been through. A lot of them haven't even had access to the baskets to shoot at. And they're going to jump back in, play 8 glorified exhibitions for some of these teams, these seeding games that are going to determine, the 1 through 8 in the East and West, and maybe determine whether a couple teams can sneak into the 8th seed in the East and West. they're going to play a couple weeks of these games, and then they're going to jump into playoffs. And so, Davis Bertans of the Wizards decides to opt out of this whole thing because he's heading toward free agency and the first major payday of his career because he's just had a breakout season and has had a couple of ACLs. Like, why? Of course he wouldn't want to risk that under these circumstances. So any of these concerns, they're all valid, and these are personal decisions these guys are making. I don't blame any one of them if they decide to opt out, and they're giving up their paycheck for those games to do it, so they're willing to make that sacrifice, and I think people just need to respect that.
Howard Beck, a Bleacher Report here on the Rich Eisen Show. And so, in terms of players that are going there and the seedings and everything, like that hasn't changed, right? We're still on with those 8 games. Those are going to be played for sure. Nothing's changed on everything that we heard from a few weeks ago.
No. Yeah, I mean, look, nothing's changed, but I wouldn't rule out the possibility that it changes. I mean, I've been in the camp all along of don't bring any more teams than you have to because every team is more bodies, and more bodies means more potential risk, and it's just a math question. It's just a probabilities question. So if it gets really bad in Orlando, does the NBA decide, we're not calling it off, but man, forget the 22 teams. Let's just go 16. They'll play a few. They'll do a round robin exhibition to get everybody back into game shape, and then we'll jump into the playoffs. Forget the seeding games. Let's just bring the 8 in the East and the 8 in the West, who were had the top spots when we suspended. They could theoretically do that. I don't think they will because everybody's bought into a certain schedule or a plan, and there's money attached to that plan, and there are teams that are have everything in the works to go. I don't think they'll call that off, but that would be one way of doing this. Would be just to streamline this a little. And look, they don't have to play best of 7 every round. It wasn't that long ago that we had a best of 5 first round, and actually it was really great. You could streamline this. You could decide to spend less time down there. So there are a number of measures they could take if they want to try to minimize the burden on the players and personnel, if they want to minimize the risk a little bit more. But as of right now, I think it's full speed ahead with this plan with 22 teams and full best of 7 series and a very long time down there because there's $1 billion at stake.
What are you hearing about coaches? I mean, Pop is 70, right? I mean, what are you hearing about that? I mean, the union players and the association is one thing here, but what are you hearing about coaches who might be in the vulnerable or at-risk community?
The case that the league has made, and I've heard, various people who work, on the medical side within the league make this case too, is that everybody, once they get there, will be safer there in the NBA bubble than they would be back at home. Because think about Pop, for instance. Texas is a place, I don't know about San Antonio in particular or where he lives within that area, but Texas is one of the places where cases are really spiking. Now they're spiking in Florida, but if you are, the whole point of the bubble is that you are tested every day. You're not encountering anybody outside of the bubble. You're not leaving the NBA's campus. And so you have, in theory, less risk, less encounters with random people who could be asymptomatic carriers. Now, the Disney employees are going to come and go, but they're not supposed to have any interaction with or get anywhere near anybody who is in the NBA bubble, players, coaches, or otherwise. So in theory, you're safer, in theory. But if I were 70 years old, an NBA coach, if I were Pop, if I were Mike D'Antoni, who's a few years younger than that, if I were Alvin Gentry, I don't know. It would give me pause. As safe as it might be, as many precautions as they're taking, I don't know that I think I just want to just barricade myself in my house until there's a vaccine. I just don't know that I want to take that kind of risk. But these guys they're competitors and they're married to their jobs. Coaches are different than you and me. They're these guys. They're gym rats. There's a reason Pop's still doing this at his age. He doesn't need to. He could have retired long ago. But and Alvin Gentry and Mike D'Antoni have both been on the record very stubbornly or adamantly emphatically saying, we're going, we'll be fine.
A couple more minutes left with Bleacher Report senior NBA writer Howard Beck. We were discussing this on our Monday show, Howard, about pumping in crowd noise. We're seeing the Premier League have an ability to watch the games, watch the matches with crowd noise. and with somebody using the EA Madden Sports sound effects that they have accrued from real matches overseas. Again, this is not a facetious question because I'll ask my EP Don Bowie to put up on our screen right here the Western Conference standings. When you look at the Western Conference standings, the Lakers sitting atop at 1, and who knows who's going to be 8. But just again, Jazz, Thunder, going to Utah and winning a game, going to Oklahoma City and winning a game in a playoff series is monster difference, right? So are they just going to just say it's the same? I mean, in game 1, let's say game 7 of a playoff series, and I'm being serious here, between the Jazz and the Thunder goes down. Can they pump in the noise in a way to make it louder for the Thunder to actually communicate in a timeout, because it would be figuratively in Utah? I mean, like, are they going to try in any way, shape, or form mimic a home court advantage that might even come into play if it's Lakers-Clippers?
I don't know what they're going to do. I think that there's a strong case to be made that they should do what you're saying. As weird as it might be, as manufactured as it might be, and there's going to be a psychological disconnect because visually you'll look around and there's a handful of people in the gym, but your ears are hearing, the semblance of your home crowd or the away crowd. And you could absolutely manufacture it. Like, there's no question the technology exists and the audio exists to do this, where you could have MVP chants when LeBron's at the foul line, if it's a Laker home game, but you could have him getting booed and taunted and everything else when it's a road game against the Memphis Grizzlies in the first round. You could do that. You could have the cheers, the boos, everything to simulate it. Will it have the same psychological effect? Will it actually replicate a home court advantage when you know exactly that you're still in the same place? It's the same court you were standing on 2 days ago when it was a road game, and now it's a home game. But I don't know what the answer to that is, and I don't know what the NBA will ultimately do. I do strongly suspect that they will not allow it to just be quiet, because the home audience will hear too much. The reporters who are in the stands will hear too much, and they don't want us hearing all the things that are said between players or between coaches and players during the course of a game. And
also between players and refs. And I mean, that would be, quite something for us to be able to pick up and hear. And isn't Cuban talking about letting the fans at home cheer and having that actually affect what's going on in the arena? Isn't that already something that I've heard him say?
I mean, that's funny, because I had suggested the same thing. I had Harrison Barnes on my podcast a few weeks back, and we were talking about ways to do this. And I said something like that. Like, I would love to see, like, the world's largest Zoom call, right? Yeah. And you could split it between fans of each team. But I don't know, make it 3/4 one team, the home team, and 1/4 the other, and everybody could cheer from home. Like, I think that would be phenomenal, and it would be real, it would be live, it would be a little strange, but at least it would be not canned. I don't know what the league is planning on that side of things. They haven't quite gotten there yet. They've had bigger things to tackle first.
No, I'm sure. Last one for you, Howard. What about the media? Are you going? What's the conversation you're having with many of your colleagues? How many people are going to raise their hands or have a parent company that's going to pay for a room for 3 months to send somebody? What are we hearing about on the media front of covering and being part of this?
There will be a lot more public probably later today, but I can't say all of it right now because I'm part of the Pro Basketball Writers Board that has been working with the league on trying to do this. Mm-hmm. What I can tell you is what already leaked a week or two ago, and there's going to be a very small number of reporters who will be in the bubble itself. So that means you're committed for full 90 days, or your outlet at least will be committed for the full 90 days, and there's going to be a possibility to swap out at some point. But you might be committed for the full 3 months of sequester, basically, and you'll be under all the same restrictions, but without any of the perks that the NBA players and teams are going to get. And it means having your meals delivered to you. It means getting tested every day. It means no freedom of movement. So to answer part of your question, no, I'm not going to go to the bubble. Like, it's not justifiable. There's not enough of a payoff. It doesn't make sense. I have a family. Somebody else wants to do it. More power to them, but it's not for me.
Are you hearing? Are you hearing members of your community that are similar or different? I mean, what's the general sense?
I've heard many more of my friends say no to the possibility of the bubble than maybe. A couple are kind of gung ho, like they like the idea. It's just a weird experience. And listen, it is a great story. If I were 20 years younger and single,
sure,
30 years younger and single,
nice.
If at a different stage of my career, I would have said, yeah, why not? Screw it. I'll be fine. Give me some video games and a few good books, and I'll go into sequester for 3 months, and I'll write this amazing story about this really weird NBA partial season in the middle of Disney World. But no, for a lot of people, a lot of my friends who have kids who cover the NBA, nobody wants to do that. And so I don't know how many people will actually volunteer for it. But again, it's a small number that the NBA is even going to allow in anyway.
Right.
I'll be interested to see if they get to the max number. There's going to be a second tier of reporters who can go down, not be in the bubble, stay anywhere you want, but you're not getting tested by the NBA, most likely, and you're not getting any access. The only thing you're getting is to go into the gym, watch the game from a distance in the stands, and that's it. All your interviews will be via Zoom. But even the people who are in the bubble, interviews are mostly going to be either a socially distanced press conference or via Zoom. So there's just not much payoff or incentive to be there, and everything is going to be streamed so that people can cover it from home. And the vast, vast, vast majority of print reporters who cover this league will be covering the bubble from home, not in the bubble and not in Orlando.
And then I guess the question will be then what happens for the following season, but I guess one step at a time, and we'll see how it goes. And, I appreciate the call, Howard. Really do, man.
No, Rich, always a pleasure.
Same
and,
here.
yeah, let's hope by the time we get to next season, whenever that is, maybe December, that there's a little bit more ability to return to normal and that teams can play in their home markets. But I'm not that optimistic at the moment that that's going to be the case, given where we are in this country at this moment.
No, I know that. We never know what happens in therapeutics and all that stuff. In the meantime, you're going to have to get a haircut before December, Howard. You just, just go outside, sit in a chair outside, mask
here's
up.
The thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. New York City just started reopening, and
There you go.
barbershops finally reopened this week. But we finally bailed out of New York, and we're up in the Hudson River Valley.
Okay.
We needed a change of location, change of scenery. But things have been open for a while here, so I am optimistic that sometime in the next few days when I'm not working, I will find an open barbershop, and I will get this thing under control, and I will cease being Saul Berenson.
Good to see.
Not a bad thing being Saul. We're just saying.
I know. You take care, Howard. Thanks for the call.
You too, Rich. Take care.
You got it. That's Howard Beck, Bleacher Report. Zoom. That's the way it's going to go. There's going to be no press conferences in any sport. Belichick's going to be on Zoom. He's going to get to press the leave button.
I don't think.
Pardon me, Microsoft Teams. Sorry.
That's true. Yeah.
Whatever that is. He's going to basically say, if you don't ask me questions about the game, if you keep on asking me questions about Stead and what I'm going to do instead, I'm gonna.
You can block him.
You can mute Albert Breer. You can
mute, block,
right?
Ben Volen,
unfollow the reporter.
As Ben Volen is
Belichick
the last couple of years.
Oh my gosh, yeah. To take Ben and you can mute Ben.
Yeah, the bad connection excuse is going to be happening for all these coaches.
I can't quite hear you.
You're breaking up. Let me just
little.
reset.
We're moving on to the outbreak room, right? What are the breakout room? Pardon me. Outbreak rooms. Oh, jeez. It's a bit different. Okay, so in the last 40 minutes or so, the president of NASCAR, Steve Phelps, held a press conference with the media about the photograph that NASCAR made public today of the, I guess, what do you want to call it? The rope that was used to pull down the garage door at Talladega that initially was called a noose, then was subsequently ruled as not a hate crime by the DOJ and the feds. Not a hate crime. saying that this rope fashioned to look like a noose was there since last October and thus not specifically meant as a warning for the only African-American racer on the circuit in Bubba Wallace. And then now comes this photograph where it certainly looks like a noose, and news that NASCAR confirming out of well over 1,600 other garages in NASCAR, this is the only such device to pull down the garage that looks like this. And it wasn't this way back in October. Through sweep of 29 tracks where they raced, 1,684 garage stalls, they found only 11 total ropes that had a pull-down rope tied in a knot and just one noose, and that's the one in Bubba Wallace's garage, which you're about to hear. So then now the question is, how was this the conclusion of the federal authorities, that this wasn't intended for Bubba Wallace and wasn't done by an individual over the weekend specifically to menace Bubba Wallace? I've not heard this sound, as we say in the business, but here is the president of NASCAR, Steve Phelps.
The 43 team noticed the noose in the garage stall. At roughly 4:30, NASCAR was alerted to the presence of the noose. At that point, we did a full sweep of the garage by our security team, and only the rope of the 43 team stall was a noose. All the others were regular ropes. We provided the FBI with a list of personnel with access to the garage, as well as video and images taken from the weekend and the 2019 fall weekend as well. During the course of the day, the FBI interviewed race team personnel from multiple teams, NASCAR officials, track fire and safety personnel, and track custodial staff. Talladega Superspeedway also provided the FBI with a list of events that had taken place since October of 2019, which is when the new garages opened. The FBI reports back at the end of the day that their interviews are complete for the day, and the evidence so far, or thus far at that point, was inconclusive, with plans to continue their investigation the following morning. On Tuesday morning, NASCAR received additional video from a team and provided it to the FBI. The video corroborates the testimony from one of the interviews that the FBI had conducted, that the noose was present in that stall during the Fall Cup event.
Is that the extent of what we have?
Yeah.
I don't know what to say, man. It certainly sounds like this was done specifically over the weekend, and how does the authorities say that this wasn't done specifically with malice towards Bubba Wallace? How is that the conclusion?
Yeah,
I don't understand it, and I will wait to see how it all plays out here.
Yeah,
but I think NASCAR's reaction to this was appropriate. I think NASCAR's reaction as a community, from fellow drivers to the rest of the entire race community, and by that I mean the community of racers and the people at NASCAR, I thought was wholly appropriate. I thought it was a beautiful thing, something that Bubba Wallace deserved and needed. That Wallace, based on the findings of the federal authorities, felt that he said that he called it, taking a little embarrassment was worth it for this display to be shown as support right here over what the alternatives could have been. I will gladly take a little embarrassment. I don't think it's anything to be embarrassed about when you see that.
Nothing to be embarrassed about.
When you see that. And that's the thing I don't understand. I mean, Bubba Wallace did see this news, and for him to say, okay, from what I heard, it may be embarrassing our reaction. It's not at all. And I think, again, the final statement there's been progress made as a sport. And I know that there's a faction of the sports following that does not feel this has been progress, but steps back, defund NASCAR and the like. but just all seeing one another as together under the flag that's over Bubba Wallace's mouth and not the color of his skin. That we could just, we're all humans, Americans. That's the message that I hope we can take out of all of this. Although today is just another head shake. Man, I would just love to just all understand that we are of one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I learned that as a kid, hand over heart, standing in the class as a pledge of allegiance to the flag that I understand people still want to kneel in front of. Makes total, complete sense as to why. That photograph that NASCAR put out, that's why. The videos that we see, that's why. And I understand it and feel that anybody who wants to kneel, again, is as much of a patriot as me who stands up and puts my hand over my heart and asks my children to do the same. We're all the same. Let's take Richard in Jacksonville's phone call before we wrap up this Thursday edition of the Rich Eisen Show. What's up, Richard?
Hey, Rich. Good to talk to you.
Thanks for hanging out.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
I want to throw you a knuckleball because you've been coming with the heat all morning.
Okay. Sounds good. What do you got for me?
I want to reconfigure the schedule for Major League Baseball next year.
All right.
Not this year.
Okay.
Next year.
Next year, when hopefully we got 162 games and everybody's healthy.
No. You got to let that go.
Okay.
We're gonna start playing on April 1st.
Okay.
And we're gonna stop playing regular season on September 30th.
Okay.
Period.
All right.
Every series is going to be 5 games. It's going to start on Wednesday. It's going to end on Sunday. Every Monday is a rest day.
Mm-hmm.
Every Tuesday is a travel day.
Okay.
We have saved the owners one flight every week.
Okay.
Under normal circumstances, and bus trips and so on, and hotel bills and changing and all that. All right, so the 5-game series, I'm a Cubs fan, so I'm going to go at it from my National League Central perspective. I know you're a Yankees fan, and I got no problem with that. We're fans. The Cubs go to the National League West. They play 4 teams.
Okay.
5 times.
Okay.
That's 20 games. The Cubs go to the National League East. That's 5 teams. 5 games, that's 25.
Mm-hmm.
That leaves, of the 24 weeks available, give or take a tick, from April 1st to September the 30th. That's 6 full months, 4 weeks a month, 24 months. Or 24 weeks, I'm sorry. And that leaves 15 weeks for them to play the National League Central. The highlight of the package is the holiday weekends. Labor Day, 4th of July, Memorial Day.
Yes.
You play crosstown rival. The Cubs and the Sox, the Yankees and the Mets, the Brewers and the Twins, the St. Louis Cardinals against the Kansas City Royals, so on and so forth. But on the holiday weekends, you have those, centerpiece games where there's a rivalry, and you can do 5 and 5 on the first and the last, the Memorial Day and Labor Day. 4th of July is going to have to float because it's not, it doesn't fall on a Monday.
Right. So let me just interrupt you here, all right, Richard. So how many grand total games is this?
I got 78.
Grand total number of baseball games for the entire season is 78 games.
Well, yeah, regular season is going to be 78.
Okay.
How you want to schedule the playoffs and how you want to do that, that's not up to me. It's up to somebody else that makes the big money.
All right, Richard, that was Charlie Huff, Tom Candiotti, and Wakefield all rolled up into one. I appreciate the call. That is what we call quite the knuckleball. I don't think the number of games that he just mentioned is what we call a non-starter. I don't think baseball would ever go for something like that. Where 1 week it's the NFC, it's the NL West week for the Cubs. Then they travel in another 5 days, so they're on the road for a full month, going from Los Angeles to San Diego to Arizona to Colorado, right? to San Francisco and then they go home? That'd be tough. I'm going to talk about a bubble.
Do you think we're going to see ever?
But don't those teams then go to? It wouldn't be 78 games unless, at some point the Dodgers would have to go to Chicago, right? I think it would be double those number of games.
Yeah. Do you think there's ever going to be a time where we're at less than 162?
I think so.
You do?
I do. Expanded playoffs? They're thinking of expanding the playoffs. That it would have to start earlier than,
Yeah, we can't
October
be playing
1.
in mid-November.
No, you can't. So you're going to you'd have to take something out of the regular season in order to play more playoff games. So that'll have to be fewer than 162. Certainly, if it brings in more revenue. And Turner went ahead and,
as we've seen, that's all that matters.
Gave him $1 billion to
these guys,
right? I want to thank today's guests, Evan Drellich, Ian Rapoport, Kyle Brandt. That was a lot of fun. And Howard Beck. We're on NBCSN tomorrow for all 3 hours. George Lopez will be joining us on our program.
Fantastic.
That's and then we're efforting. We'll be efforting some more here on the Rich Eisen Show. Our poll question final results over there. Christopher, what do you got for me?
Oh, man.
You weren't ready.
See. I was not ready.
I just threw you.
Wedding crashers are old school, guys. 54.5% old school.
Okay.
And sports figure you'd wish on social media. Peyton Manning, 47%.
Well, he says it's not going to happen. We'll try our best, though. That'll wrap it up for this edition of the Rich Eisen Show. We hope wherever you are happy and you are healthy. And you'll be calling us, tweeting us, Instagramming with us, and YouTubing with us, and SiriusXMing with us tomorrow.